various county governments. There are a number of county governments that have been receiving the equalization fund or have been categorized to be able to receive this equalization fund and categorized as marginalized. Some of the counties categorized as marginalized. And these monies are meant to give them the opportunity to be able to improve a number of services on areas such as water, electricity, to be able to be at par with their counterparts, the other areas of the nation. So these are monies that seeks to facilitate, or the fund seeks to facilitate the provision of basic services, including water, roads, health facilities, as well as electricity to these areas that have been categorized as marginalized to the extent necessary to bring the quality of those services in those areas to the level generally being enjoyed by the rest of Kenyans in the country. So this is a bill that is coming up for first reading. A number of counties will be receiving these monies, and this is part of the business that the members shall be able to look at this afternoon. First reading also will be to the county government's additional allocations bill, a bill also originating, this is a bill that is originating from the Senate, and it is a bill that is co-sponsored by the chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee, also coming up for first reading. Basically, this is a bill that seeks to give additional resources that are allocated to the county governments from the national government's share of revenue, or in the form of loans and grants from development partners, basically to provide for the allocations from proceeds of loans and grants from development partners to be able to ensure that these counties also manage to undertake a number of projects that have been funded by these particular funds, either from loans or grants from development partners. The House this afternoon also shall go into a committee of the whole House to consider two bills that have been considered at the second reading stage, meaning that a debate on them was done comprehensively and conclusively, and also a number of amendments having been forwarded or having been proposed. This is the stage that those amendments shall be considered or shall be taken into consideration for them to be adopted and be part of the bill, or be rejected. So the first bill is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. This is a bill that seeks to establish the Sovereign Wealth Fund to be able to provide institutional arrangements for the effective administration and effective management of minerals and petroleum revenues and monies from other sources allocated to the fund. The bill also provides for the establishment of this particular fund, the sources of the funds, the holding account, holding the resources and the assets of the fund, and the general principles relating to withdrawals from the fund. This is a bill that seeks to create the generational wealth and also to be able to enable the country not depend so much on the debts, but have a savings culture that can be used for the general services for the country. That is the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Dr. Moses Masika Wetangula, has already made his way into the House to preside over this afternoon sitting. You will allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast that is brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. Good afternoon.
Tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umetujulia nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao ameridhika kutuita tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tunakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikisha mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao hajazaa wamezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Do we have quorum? Sergeant, ring the quorum bell.
Well, the prayer has been said and the chair taken. However, there is a quorum hitch at the commencement of the sitting of the House. The Speaker has directed that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes to give room to members to be able to make their way into the House. And as we wait for the House to correct, we shall continue to take a look at some of the priority business that this afternoon the House shall be transacting. Earlier on, I had indicated to you that 2 bills are scheduled to be considered at the Committee of the Whole House stage. The Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill, and then there is also the Public Participation Bill, a bill originating from the National Assembly and co-sponsored by the Honorable Member Dr. Otiende Amolo and the Honorable Member Samuel Chepkonga. The purpose of this particular bill is to provide a framework for effective public participation. And of course, this will be giving effect to the constitutional principle of public participation, or participation by the public as enshrined in articles of the Constitution, including Article 110, 35, 69, 118, 174, 184, 196, 201, and 232. The bill seeks to provide for guiding principles that will be adhered to by the institutions conducting public participation. It also designates the responsible authorities for purposes of the development of specific guidelines for public participation in each public institution. Its primary intent is to be able to ensure that public participation transitions into meeting the requirements of the Constitution to a standardized, institutionalized, as well as meaningful part of the governance systems. This particular bill provides for the considerations that need to be noted in undertaking public participation, the notice for public participation, the modes of notifying the public, submissions during public participation, reasonable time, the processing of responses, access to public participation processes, access to documents, and conduct in a forum of public participation. We have been seeing the government undertaking public participation in various government programs to be able to bring on board the opinions and the views of the public regarding a number of programs or initiatives that the government or all the arms of government seek to bring on board. And this particular bill now legislates how that public participation will be done to be able to ensure that the voices of the public are considered and their views taken into consideration on these initiatives by various arms of government or by various agencies of the government. Remember, it is a bill that is co-sponsored by the Honorable Member Otiende Amolo and Samuel Chepkonga. So this afternoon, as the members consider this bill, there are amendments that the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, who did conduct the public participation
to transact business, clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 30th June 2026. Reports of the Auditor General and Financial Statement for the years ended 30th June 2021, 30th June 2022, 30th June 2023, 30th June 2024, 30th June 2025, and the certificates therein in respect of the following schools. 1, Kangui Boys High School. 2, Karima Boys High School. 3, Katoteni Secondary School. 4, Kawedei SA Girls Secondary School. 5, Langa Langa Secondary School. 6, Magumu High School. 7, Daragwa Girls Secondary School. 8, Oltarakwai Secondary School. 9, St. Paul High School, Kivote. And 10, Thomas Fish Secondary School, Kajiado. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I lay.
Chairperson, Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee. Is that Mulyungi?
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 30th June 2026. 15th report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on the examination of the audited accounts of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for constituencies in Meru, Tharaka Nithi, and the Embu constituencies for the financial years 2013-14, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022-2023. Honorable Speaker, I also have another.
Yes.
Sorry, it's only that one. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I haven't heard you mention 2020, 2021, 2022. You came from 2020, 2021 to 2022, 2023.
Yes, is from 2013 to 2023.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee, Muliungi.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that this House adopts the 15th report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the audited accounts for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for constituencies in Meru, Tharaka, Nithi, and the Embu counties for the financial years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, 2015-2016, 2016-2017, 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021, 2021-2022, and 2022-2023 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th June 2026. I also have another notice of motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that this House adopts the 4th report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the audited accounts for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund account for the financial years 2016-2017, 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021, 2021, and 2022 laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 21st March 2024. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable members, before we call the first request, allow me to acknowledge in this public gallery Mirera Junior Secondary School from Laikipia, East Laikipia, Dom St. Philip's Giaki from Imenti, North Meru, and Milimani Kitengela JSS from Kajiado East, Kajiado. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to Parliament. Thank you. Now, request for statement. Chege Njuguna. Honorable Chege Njuguna, member for Kandara. The request stayed. Honorable Emade Namwar, Turkana Central.
A request for statement regarding the operationalization of NAPETET ICT Hub in Turkana Central constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation regarding the operationalization of the NAPETET ICT Hub in Turkana Central. Honorable Speaker, in 2018, the World Bank and the Government of Kenya launched the North and Northeastern Development Initiative, NEDI, under which the NAPETET ICT Hub in Lodwar Township, Turkana Central constituency, was funded. The facility was established to advance the constitutional aspirations of promoting access to information, innovation, education, youth empowerment, and equitable development as envisaged under Article 35 and 55 of the Constitution. Further, the ICT Hub aligns with the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda better, particularly the Digital Superhighway Program, which seeks to expand digital connectivity, create employment opportunities, enhance digital literacy, support innovation, and facilitate access to government services. However, despite the completion of the project, the ICT Hub has not yet been operationalized and remains inaccessible to the public. Consequently, residents, particularly youth, students, entrepreneurs, and innovators continue to be denied opportunities for digital entrepreneurship, remote learning, online employment, innovation, and access to e-government services. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation on the following. A, the status of the NAPETET ICT Hub, including the date of completion, project cost, and the reasons for the delay in its operationalization. B, plans by the government to operationalize the facility and make it accessible to the public, including specific timelines. C, measures being taken to ensure that the hub delivers digital skills training, innovation support, remote work opportunities, and access to government digital services for the youth, the residents of Turkana Central and the wider Turkana County. And D, plans by the government to partner with the county government, educational institutions, and private sector actors to maximize the utilization and impact of the facility. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Namwar. Chair, Communication, Information and Innovation. KJ, when can you bring a response?
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member raises a very important issue, and cognizance of the fact that we are going for recess, the earliest we would be able to make a response is the first week after recess, so that he's able to also communicate back to his constituents.
So you bring on 29th of July.
Mr. Speaker, well guided.
Next, Suzanne Kiamba. Member for Makueni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to request for a statement on the implementation of the Affordable Housing Program. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 44-2C, I raise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Housing, Urban Planning and Public Works regarding implementation of the Affordable Housing Program. Honorable Speaker, since the enactment of the Affordable Housing Act 2024, the people of Kenya have dutifully contributed to the housing levy, the funding mechanism for the Affordable Housing Program. This initiative is intended to provide decent, accessible, and affordable housing to all Kenyans, in line with Article 43 of the Constitution. However, concerns have been raised by a section of Kenyans regarding transparency and accountability of the administration of the funds collected through the housing levy. There is a growing apprehension about potential mismanagement of these funds, as well as lack of clarity on the specific projects that have been executed and the accessibility of the houses under the program to the intended beneficiaries. It is therefore necessary that the government provides comprehensive information on the status and the progress of implementation of affordable housing projects. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Housing, Urban Planning and the Public Works on the following. 1, the detailed report on the total amount of money collected under the housing levy since its inception, the amount drawn from the fund, and the measures for ensuring that the funds are strictly utilized for the intended purpose. 2, a report on projects funded by the housing levy so far, the amount channeled to each project, the specific constituencies where these are located, and the status of implementation. 3, a report on the number and details of Kenyans, especially from the vulnerable households who have acquired housing units under the Affordable Housing Program. And 4, the mechanisms put in place to ensure accountability, transparency, and the value for money in the project, including the oversight framework for the project and details of the agencies that oversight the program. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Chair Housing. When can you bring a response?
Thank you, Speaker. I'll bring the report 2 weeks after recess. And I
We are
remember,
recessing for 3 weeks.
And
So
I
why do you want 2 weeks after recess? Bring the first week.
the first week of recess.
Yes.
And Honorable Speaker, you had directed the CS to be here on Thursday. So maybe, yeah, on Thursday.
First week after recess.
Thank you.
Moses Kirima. Yes, Omboko Milemba.
Honorable Speaker, the Chair has raised some fundamental questions that the CS will be in the House. If so, would you not find it in your favor to direct that he deals with the matter if the CS will be coming? Thank you.
Yes, Omboko. You know, honorable members, I had directed that we'll have some 2 issues on Kamkunji on Thursday. The NGCDF team wanted to brief members on developments within the management of NGCDF and housing. Unfortunately, the 2 will not be on. We'll have the Kamkunji the first Thursday upon resumption from recess. So, Chairman, you prepare to come and respond to Mrs. Kiamba. Moses Krima, member for Imendi Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44, subsection 2C,
Fine, thank you.
I rise to request a statement from the chairperson of the Department Committee on land regarding the long-standing boundary and land adjudication disputes affecting Kiamuli A and Kiamuli B in Kiagu Ward Central Imenti constituency. Honorable Speaker, Kiamuli A and Kiamuli B are neighboring land adjudication sections and localities situated within Kiagu Ward in Central Imenti constituency, Meru County. The 2 areas are productive agricultural and residential zones and host important public institutions, including CCM Kiamuli Primary School and Kiamuli Secondary School. For many years, residents of this area have been affected by persistent land and boundary disputes that have undermined security, disrupted land ownership rights, and threatened peaceful coexistence among neighboring communities. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kiamuli a formally recognized adjudication section, has historically been subject of numerous land disputes, boundary alterations, and protracted court cases. Kiamuli B has experienced significant delay in the issuance of title deeds and has increasingly become the center of boundary disputes involving the neighboring Tharaka-Nithi County and Meru County. It is also worth noting that the areas of Kithioroka, Mugoi, and Karocho, among others, have been declared as gathering and adjudication areas for the Tharaka South Sub-County, and yet they squarely fall in Central Imenti constituency. Honorable Speaker, the dispute has persisted for many years despite several interventions by the government. Notably, a task force chaired by the Sakari Ogongo was established to investigate and recommend the solutions to the long-standing boundary disputes along the Meru County and the Tharaka-Nithi County. Honorable Speaker, the task force completed its work and submitted its work between 2007 and 2009, and following petitions presented on behalf of affected residents who have suffered displacement, disruptions of livelihoods, and close of schools due to the disputes, and the National Assembly adopted the task force report on 11th June 2022, and directed that the Minister of Lands and the Physical Planning and the Minister of Interior and the National Administration do fully implement its recommendations within 90 days. Further, residents contend that the recommendations of the Interim Independent Boundaries Review Commission which undertook a comprehensive review of the electoral and administrative boundaries and submitted its report in 2010, have similarly not been fully implemented in relation to the affected areas. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek statement from the chairman of the departmental committee on lands on the following: confirmation of the legally recognized boundary between Central Imenti constituency of Meru County and the neighboring Tharaka south of Tharaka Nithi County, particularly in relation to Kiamule A and Kiamule B adjudication section. Honorable Speaker, measures that the government has taken to implement and enforce the 2002 agreement regarding the gathering and adjudication areas, and why the dispute continue to persist in spite of the recommendations. Number 3, actions that the government has taken to investigate and address the reports of encroachment and lawful occupation of land, killings, destructions, and the property and displacement of residents of Kiamule A and Kiamule B. And finally, plans in place for a comprehensive boundary verification survey and land adjudication audit of the ministry, involving all relevant agencies and stakeholders to conclusively resolve the dispute so that safeguard the rights of lawful owners of the affected areas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Chairlands, yes, Murugara, you want to joyride?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Just to joyride on that statement by Honorable Kirima, unfortunately, the documents and the papers he's trying to quote have actually been overtaken by events. The fact remains that the areas he claims to be in his constituency, Central Imenti, have been ascertained by all agencies to be in the Tharaka constituency. I am not trying to preempt what statement is going to be made, but it's clear for him to know that some of the facts he's presenting are not factually correct. Thank you.
Dr. Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have a problem with the boundary between Meru and Tharaka Nithi. It doesn't affect only Central Imenti. It stretches all the way from South Imenti, Central Imenti, North Imenti, Tigania, West, East, and even all the way. Honorable Speaker, we are not privy to any information that this boundary dispute has been resolved. But we have court determination that clearly speak to the opposite of what the Honorable Murugara has said. We would like the committee to go into the depth and breadth of the issue and bring the facts to this House so that we can be clear on what is supposed to be happening. I have a sub-location which has 2 names and 2 administrative heads, one from Tharaka and another one from Tigania. So, Honorable Speaker, we need to get to the depth of this issue.
Yes, Rindegeri Mugambi.
Mr. Speaker, you know, Honorable Murugara is a known expansionist. And I'm not surprised with his statement because these disputes have been there. Personally, Bori was carved from Imenti Centrals, and I have a lot of interest in that area which has been taken over by the other county. So whatever Murugara is saying, the document have been overtaken. We have been engaging diplomatically. By now, it seems when this matter has now come here, it's another story. I'm asking our honorable incoming governor of Tharaka, please, let's be truthful. Let's issue the correct statement and resolve this matter once and once for all. Otherwise, it might become a political problem, even as you initiative to become the governor. I thank you.
Yes, Murugara, what is it?
Honorable Speaker, I take it with the exception that Honorable Rindikiri here is calling me an expansionist. I don't know how and under what circumstances I would actually have the power to encroach onto Meru lands in Meru County, where I would even get the wherewithal to do this. The fact remains, the boundary between Meru and Tharaka Nithi has been settled by the Minister of Interior. They have actually gone to court, and the court has ruled that it is not just the ministry. We have what used to be called the Districts and the Provinces Act of 1992, the one that created the counties. It is the one that is being followed. All the areas Honorable Kirima is talking about, according to that particular Act of Parliament, are in Tharaka constituency, Tharaka Nithi County. So Honorable Kirima will have a tall task, even when we go before wherever we have to go before, because we have an Act of Parliament that determines boundaries between the counties, and those areas he's talking about are actually in Tharaka. So this is going to give him trouble, and he's going to be in big trouble, especially with me. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Kirima. You are the one seeking a statement. Who do you want to inform?
That the 1992 Boundary Act, which created constituency, which created in districts, is the one to be pursued and followed. And that's the one I'm insisting that they be followed. It was ruled between Marsabit and Wajir. And that's what I'm pursuing, so that they can be followed. Because, as it has been said by Mr. Indikiri, when it comes to elections time, Mr. Murugara usually uses this boundary disputes to gain votes. And it's a problem, and it's causing dispute and killings in the boundaries. And if we allow our people to continue...
Order, Kirima, there is no motion before this House to discuss Murugara. Take your seat. Take your seat. You want to discuss Murugara and his expansionism? Bring a motion. Chair Lands. Chair Lands. Any member of the Lands Committee? Naomi informed the Chair Lands to bring a response within the first week after recess.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will do so.
Agnes Pareyo. Narok North. Agnes Pareyo. Statement stayed. Chega Njuguna.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I request for a statement regarding the death of Mr. Kamau.
Chega Njuguna, I've called you for the second time. The decent thing to do is to apologize to the House for coming late.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my apologies to the House. I got late a little bit, Honorable Speaker. I was just stuck on the traffic, but I'll make sure, Honorable Speaker, next time I'm on time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the death of Mr. Kamau Maina in Kandara constituency. Honorable Speaker, on 4th June 2026, Mr. Kamau Maina, a resident of Kandara constituency, lost his life after sustaining injuries caused by a tree that was felled by employees of M.S. Henan Highway Engineering Company Limited. Honorable Speaker, the matter was reported at Githumu Police Station under OB number 20/04/06/2026 in the evening. Honorable Speaker, however, despite the lapse of time since the incident, no meaningful action has been taken to investigate the circumstances surrounding the incident and or the conduct of MS Henan Highway Engineering Company Limited and its employees. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following, Honorable Speaker. Number one, the status of investigations into the incident that occurred on 4th June 2026, which resulted in the death of Mr. Kamau Maina. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the reasons for the apparent delay in investigations into the incident, and number 3, Honorable Speaker, the steps being taken to ensure that the contractors undertaking public infrastructure projects comply with occupational and public safety requirements to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and Honorable Speaker, I yield back.
Tongoyo, that is to you.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, I will respond
Although
to it.
I don't know whether that is a security issue or a construction issue, but
I think more is more of a security issue.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, considering, Honorable Speaker, that we could be going to recess on that, maybe you'll allow me to respond the first week on resumption.
First week on resumption, that's fine.
Yeah, but should I get the response any other in
You
between?
can communicate with the
I can
member.
to communicate to the member. Honorable
Okay.
Speaker, just allow me also to report. You know, I did commit to the House that we were to have the CS this morning.
Yes.
To address quite a number of members' statements. And unfortunately, the minister had a cabinet meeting, so he could not attend. And he did send the PS, and considering majority of the issues were beyond the scope of the PS, we had to step him down. And we are trying to get the soonest time possible that the CS can appear.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
I consider
Twalib.
necessary to report.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Twalib. Give Mombasa. There you are.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was also requesting for the same statement from the chairman of the Departmental Committee of Internal Security, as he had promised to give a response in 2 weeks regarding the enforcement of curfew in Lamu, despite a court order. Thank you.
Tongoyo, are you ready with his statement? on
Not
curfew in
Speaker.
Lamu?
Actually, his question was among the list that the
Okay.
minister was to respond to.
So we'll do that upon resumption from recess?
Yes.
Okay. Responses to statements. Statement request by Gideon Ochanda. Is Ochanda in the house? Yes. Tourism and wildlife. Where is the chair of tourism? Kareke? Go ahead. Give the chairman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have 2 statements which I wanted to respond on. And Mr. Speaker, I would like first of all to start with that of Honorable Gideon Ochando.
I've called out only Honorable Kareke. You finish, and you wait for us to call the next. Because when you finish, I'm sure there will be interventions. Go ahead.
Thanks so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to give a statement which was sought for the National Departmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife regarding the escalating crocodile menace along the lower Yala River in Bondo constituency, Sierra County, by the Honorable Gideon Ochando. Mr. Speaker, on the very onset, I would like to say that we had a meeting of the departmental committee whereby we invited the Honorable Ochando, and we had a very fruitful engagement. He asked some supplementary questions, which we later on sought the response from the ministry, and the same was relayed to the Honorable Ochando. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Ochando, the first question which he asked, Mr. Speaker, is measures undertaken by the relevant government agencies over the past 3 years to mitigate the crocodile menace in the lower Yala River, including the assessment or mapping of human-wildlife conflict, hotspot, and the outcomes thereof. Mr. Speaker, crocodile to human conflict in Sierra County are largely driven by dependency on natural water resources, especially River Yala and Ayala Swamp. Many residents in the area rely on board for their water needs, resulting in negative interactions as the water bodies host Nile crocodiles and hippos, among other species. The service confirms crocodile existence in several sites along River Yala in Sierra County, with the Yemo East and the North Yemo in Usigo sub-county, areas confirmed as crocodile hotspots. Other hotspots within the county, including Komolo, Mango Village, we also have Gunya Village. And Mr. Speaker, the following measures have been undertaken to ensure that minimal negative interactions between the crocodiles and the community. Number one, Mr. Speaker, is sensitization of residents through community barazas and talks where public is informed of crocodile behavior and do's and don'ts concerning them to promote coexistence. Mr. Speaker, several awareness and sensitization meetings were recently held as follows. 2 sensitization meetings by the service in collaborations with DCC were conducted in Bakanyango Chiefs Camp, as well as those which were done at Silingo Beach at Ngot Aguru. Two other sensitization meetings were undertaken on the 13th of March this year in Odulo area, where communities were sensitized on the crocodile behavior and measures to enhance coexistence. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, the service warden for Sierra County attended the Sierra CCIC meetings at the county commissioner's boardroom, where collaborative ways of preventing further crocodile attacks to the public were discussed. Further consultative meetings within the sub-county and ward administrators, opinion leaders on diverse dates at the sub-county and administrator's office on local levels, and implementation of the various measures to protect the public from the crocodile attacks were also attended. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, the service deployed a fully equipped problem animal management teams from share stations to the area. The team set up several traps in Usingu and Lalienda, resulting to capture and translocation of 2 crocodiles, where others leading crocodiles were intercepted on 15th of April. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, the service has also shared its county contact numbers with the public for the swift communication of conflict cases, and also service 24-hour toll-free line at the headquarters. Mr. Speaker, the service facilitates the government-approved compensation for the people negatively affected by the wildlife, and all affected families within the River Yala have been facilitated to launch their claims for the state compensation. Mr. Speaker, the other issue is the reasons for the delay. The other issues which was sought by the honourable member were the reasons for the delay or failure by the concerned department to implement effective and sustainable interventions to safeguard residents of the said locations despite repeated reports and appeals. Mr. Speaker, KWS observed the following that necessitated crocodiles to threaten human life among the Yala River ecosystem. Number 1, human encroachment in the riparian bumper zones that destroys natural life support system for aquatic species like crocodile, resulting to increased interaction within the community. Mr. Speaker, lack of alternative water infrastructure, making Yala River the only water source in the area, with the residents drawing water from dangerous river banks. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, is raising water levels due to the increased heavy rains upstream, resulting to swollen rivers and flooding downstream. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the people's behavior pattern that predispose them to the crocodile attacks, such as continued use of known dangerous spots, ignoring seasonal warning, especially during the rainy seasons when the risks are high, children playing near water unattended, economic independency overriding safety dues to the activities like fishing, sand harvesting, and livestock watering. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, people crossing the river and swamps at night. Mr. Speaker, the other issue which was sought by the honourable member was the status of compensation for victims affected by the reported crocodile attacks, including reasons for the failure to address claims relating to the loss of life and livestock, and also clear timelines for when the affected families will receive full compensation. Mr. Speaker, KWS facilitate the government-approved compensation.
Paraphrase, Kareke, too long.
Mr. Speaker, I'm just summarizing. Mr. Speaker, KWS facilitate the government-approved compensation for members of the community who suffers losses as a result of wildlife. The same, Mr. Speaker, is attached in the report. The other issue is summary of crocodile attacks experienced along the river in the past 3 years. Mr. Speaker, we have provided a comprehensive report on the same. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the immediate and the long-term measures the government is undertaking to protect the community and the climate or significantly reduce the threat posed by crocodiles, including deployment of the response teams, installations of the warning system, construction of the protective barriers, and community sensitization initiative. Mr. Speaker, we have listed the short-term measures which are there for the mitigate the conflict. We have the medium-term actions or measures as proposed below. Then, Mr. Speaker, we have the proposed long-term actions, which is basically having a continuous and a structured conservation, education and awareness creation to the community, including schools, market centers, and higher learning institutions. We also have the improved road access to the hotspot, and of course, Mr. Speaker, ensuring that the riparian areas are well protected. Mr. Speaker, following our meeting with the honorable member, we shared with him the additional information which we sought in terms of statistics on conflict numbers and compensation in Siaya, which is attached. Status of the human wildlife conflict incident for Siaya County. We also tabling the status of the compensation in Siaya and other additional information which you have shared with the honorable member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to respond.
Ochanda. Honorable Ochanda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that I attended the committee meetings where these responses were being done. I'm fairly satisfied in certain aspects, particularly in terms of the issues to do with compensation and the arrangement and the details that were given for compensation purposes. However, Mr. Speaker, there is a problem when it comes to intervention. What is given at Nairobi level sometimes is very different from what is at the village level. The menace that we are referring to here in these villages, the KWS is talking about placing trappers. I've tried to track those traps to the village. There were only 2 hooks that were given. Fish hooks were given to some 2 village boys. And there is no way a crocodile will get trapped by a hook that is not baited. So the kind of things that sometimes they make our chairs to respond to, I think there needs to be some adequate kind of way of how we handle things that are far off, particularly the ones in the villages. The other thing, Mr. Speaker, that was talked about, I've mentioned in the statements about the sanctuaries. Many areas will have KWS offices, but they don't have what we call the physical sanctuaries for whatever wildlife that we have in those kind of places. One example is Yaya. They don't have any other place that they can say, no, this is a KWS unit in terms of the area or the geography where they can place some of these animals. So we've advised, because there are those crocodiles, for example, if they don't want to kill them, they can be trapped, they can pick them. Then there are private sanctuaries where they can place them instead of having them and then they're blaming the community for using the river water. I think that's very, very unfair. Communities use river water all over in this country. So when you blame them or when you tell them not to go to the river, I don't think you are responding. You are giving any accurate solution to the problem. The best is to get these reptiles, whether they are hippos or whatever things that are there, put them in a sanctuary that is known. If those sanctuaries are not there, we coordinate their private sanctuaries where some of these things can be held. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I happen to be almost an approximate neighbor to Dr. Chanda,
While his biggest problem are crocodiles. Yes, we had crocodiles in River Suo, but we know how to deal with crocodiles in our place. Now our biggest menace is hippopotamus. We have raised this matter with the KWS, Kakamega branch, yet nothing has happened. We are documenting those people who have lost their lives, who have been maimed, the canoes that have been destroyed because of hippo attack. And Honorable Speaker, it becomes a very, very big menace towards a certain period of time. And this is the time where the attacks are most frequent. We do hope the team that is based probably in Yala or Siaya is much closer to my place than the team based in Kakamega. If we could share contacts, we can engage them. We see if they can be of assistance so that we tame livestock, loss of lives, destruction of farms, and the rest of those kind of things. Others, thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Namwar, Turkana Central. Give to Honorable Namwar the mic. You've passed one. Clerk, why do you put a mic that is too far away from the member?
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank Honorable Gideon and the response given by the committee. Honorable Speaker, as we speak, I have a body parts, the hand and the leg in the morgue as we speak, and the family is traumatized as a result of these crocodile attacks. The rising waters of Lake Turkana, Honorable Speaker, has forced crocodiles to come to settlements. And there is a high risk of crocodiles attacks, and it happens like 2 times in a month or even in a week. You can always find these reports. Honorable Speaker, I think there is a lot of laxity in KWS to do public awareness and sensitization, and also to ensure that there is surveillance and vigilance towards these crocodile attacks menace. Honorable Speaker, the most painful thing in all this conversation is delayed compensation. And Chair, even as you make your response, the most traumatizing, very unfortunate occurrence that is happening in the ministry is delayed compensation. And in most cases, those who are even identified as next of kin or the families that are supposed to be compensated even die before getting or before receiving this compensation. And if there is a way in which these compensations can be received, the better. And if there is a way even those affected families are helped.
How do you fast track compensation so that people don't live and die before they receive their money? Kareke?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the elephant in the room it is the issue of compensation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ministry moves with speed when an issue arises to ensure that investigations are done. The affected families are encouraged to file their claims. But Mr. Speaker, as we sit here, they approved outstanding claims stand at more than 5 billion. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the budgeting, the amount which have been allocated this financial year, Mr. Speaker, the coming financial year, is less than 1.5 billion, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, sometimes I really sympathize because when it comes to the issues of statement, issues of petitions on human rights conflict, there are so many and they are very emotive. But when it comes now to petitioning this House to give further funding, it becomes a big problem. When I appear before the budget committee to really ask them to enhance the compensation funds, Mr. Speaker, it becomes elusive. It's no longer a priority. But now when you have all these cases, that's the time the honorable members really talk in terms of the delayed compensation. So, Mr. Speaker, I really want to urge this House, because this is the House which adopt the budget. When the committee makes a recommendation to the amount of money which is needed so that you can be able to fast-track compensation, let the committee, let this House ensure that the compensation scheme, it is well funded. Mr. Speaker, there are quite a number of other issues which have been brought up, basically by the Honorable Chando and Dr. Oundo, in terms of what the government or the KWS need to do. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the River Yala, which is highly infested by crocodiles and other rivers with hippopotamus, Mr. Speaker, the KWS has taken this as an initiative to ensure that they have come up with traps so that when the crocodiles get out of the water, before it affects the common mwananchi, Mr. Speaker, or the residents, the same is trapped, Mr. Speaker. Because that's the only way you can really be able to reduce this conflict. We cannot really be able to say that the people should not be able to go and fetch water in the rivers. But at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, KWS has that responsibility to ensure that the traps are there. Mr. Speaker, you have these issues of the climate change, which is leading to rise in water levels, Mr. Speaker. Likewise, also affecting the people who normally go to these rivers. So, Mr. Speaker, I really want to urge this House as I summarize. Kindly, please, when you bring in requests for further fundings, let this House honor the same so that all these outstanding areas can be settled once and for all. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next is Pauline Lengris in the House. Pauline Lengris. Honorable Kareke will stay this to tomorrow. Pauline is not a persistent absentee in the House. Maybe she's held up. We can do that tomorrow. You had the answer, right? We'll do that tomorrow. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge the Speaker's Gallery, Baitu Hekima School from Garissa Township, Garissa. In the public, also in the Speaker's Gallery, we have Winziye Senior School from Mwingi West in Kitui County, Kigumo Senior School from Githunguri, Kiambu, and Koradini Catholic School from Embakasi East, Nairobi. In the public gallery, we have Gitie Primary and Junior School from Kiharu, Muranga. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Next order. Honorable members, as we call out order number 8 and 9 first readings, order number 10, on the request of the Majority Leader, the Committee of the Whole on Sovereign Wealth Fund bill will be stayed to tomorrow. So it will be on the order paper for tomorrow afternoon. So this afternoon, after the first readings, we'll go straight to Business Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 51 at order 11. Clerk? Yes, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, because I see Honorable Oundo, and I know he had a number of amendments also proposed, he's gesturing at me. just to inform the House that some of the amendments also have a very huge implication, and that's why we thought it would only be fair, since we're done in a supplementary order paper, that we have an engagement, the members have an engagement with the committee, and also some have an implication on Article 114 of the Constitution, and therefore the committee needs to consult with the National Treasury That's the reason why we have opted to stand down that committee to tomorrow afternoon, so that we allow the committee time to consult with the National Treasury on the ones that have Article 114 implication. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Ondo, now you can stop gesturing. Next.
Order number 8, the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to authorize the issue of sum of money out of the Equalization Fund and its application towards the service of the year ending 30th June 2027 to appropriate that sum for certain public services and for connected purposes. Order number 9, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 8 of 2026, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the additional allocations to county governments for the 2026-2027 financial year, the responsibilities of the national government and the county governments pursuant to such allocation and for connected purposes. Order number 11, the Business Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 51 of 2024, second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Business Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 51 of 2024, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, this is an old bill which was published as among the 4 bills that emanated from the Finance Bill of 2024. Honorable Speaker, you remember when we did the Finance Bill of 2024, the bill was a very big bill, and probably that is why it suffered a lot of misinformation and heavy disinformation, both on social media, on the mainstream media, and even amongst ourselves, Honorable Speaker, as leaders. Many of us, either inadvertently or deliberately, misinformed the public on the provisions of the Finance Bill of 2024. And I must be thankful, Honorable Speaker, to the Finance and National Planning Committee, which has considered this bill after it came from the Senate, because this was one of the 4 bills. You remember we did Business Laws 1, Business Laws 2, the Tax Amendment Bill of 2024, and the Tax Procedures Amendment Bill of 2024. And the Business Laws 1, Honorable Speaker, is what we call Business Laws 1, was many of the non-financial or non-tax matters that touch on business laws that did not touch on counties. And then we segregated those that touched on counties, and we had this bill begin in the Senate. And I say I must be thankful to the Finance and National Planning Committee, because they have taken this bill through public participation, engaged with stakeholders within a very short time after it came from the Senate. But the Senate, Honorable Speaker, has taken an inordinately long period to consider this bill, because having been published in December of 2024, it has taken a year and a half to get back to us. Honorable Speaker, I was just mentioning to members of the House Business Committee this lunch hour that this is why some of us are very keen on bills, especially money bills, and most of those touching on finance and appropriations, not going to the Senate. Because you can imagine if this had financial implications to the country or touch on appropriation, and a bill takes 1.5 years to be considered, we would then be appropriating money to government agencies 2 years after and to countries, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this bill, as I said, were some of the provisions that were in the Finance Bill of 2024 that had absolutely no tax implication, but sought to institutionalize the registration and seamless facilitation of foreign direct investments within our borders and also within our counties. And for instance, Honorable Speaker, you remember even when we were debating the Finance Bill of 2024, we were saying that very many businesses are being forced to pay levies and fees across counties, yet these are businesses operating within the same country. And you remember issues that had been raised, and I remember back in 2024 when Kimani Kuria was moving the finance bill, giving the example of branding of vehicles, commercial vehicles, that you run a business in the city county of Nairobi, and you have branded your vehicle and you have paid for that branding in the city county of Nairobi. But when you go to deliver goods in the city county, not in the city county, in the county of Machakos or the county of Kiambu or Nyandarua, where Honorable Gachagua comes from, the member for Ndaragwa, the county government of Nyandarua, where the good Honorable Gachagua, member for Ndaragwa, comes from, Gachagua the good one, also levies charges for branding of the same vehicle. And therefore, we make the cost of doing business very expensive for our businesses, our local businesses, and even for foreign direct investors who are coming to invest in our country, because some will establish maybe in Mombasa, but have to get their raw materials from up country or from Nairobi, and they are forced to pay levies in every county that you go through. Consider a tea packer who is probably based in Mombasa, was buying tea from Kericho, transporting it through the counties of Kericho, Nakuru, Kiambu, Nairobi, Makueni, Taita Taveta, Kwale, all the way to Mombasa. And they are forced to pay levies at every levying station they find across the entire corridor. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to streamline and also accelerate government services for investors by introducing what are centralized physical and digital service hubs. So that where you have a service hub in the county of Nairobi that is centralized, you do not need to have the same services being levied in Machakos, Kwale, Taita Taveta, all the way if you are moving goods. And therefore, this bill is indeed working to not only help the local business people, but also to make the ease of doing business cheaper in our country, and therefore make our country a very attractive investment destination for even our foreign direct investors, and therefore create job opportunities for many people in our country. The bill also intends to optimize timelines under the affordable housing frameworks to protect investments and ensure structured, timely land transactions. And again, Honorable Speaker, you know we have had issues in some counties where structuring of affordable housing has become a problem, especially around the question of approvals and validation of housing plans. Some counties, Honorable Speaker, and I don't want to name any counties, but they know themselves because we all come from counties. I can see a number of members here who have problems with their governors. Counties are making the investment in housing, and not just affordable housing, a near impossible task. Because whether it is their county inspectorate departments or their planning departments, they make the approval of building plans and even actual construction of housing a near impossibility because of corruption, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the latest example is that of an officer in Nairobi County who was arrested by EACC officers holding millions. How much was it? I think almost 60 or 65 million shillings in his own house somewhere in Machakos County. Honorable Speaker, these issues are issues that are not just in Nairobi County, they are across our entire county. Therefore, we want to make sure that with these business laws, Honorable Speaker, we optimize the timelines within which investments are being done in our respective counties can be approved, how you structure even land transactions, Honorable Speaker, because the counties are involved, for instance, if it's issues to do subdivision, the issue of sub-lease titles or the sectional titles, laws, Honorable Speaker, that we are able to expedite all these things in a timely manner. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the core contents of the bill, again, we seek to revolutionize the investment promotion, and under the Investment Promotion Act, Clause 2 replaces the old frameworks with a very progressive regime focused strictly on registering foreign direct investments and accrediting specialized investor facilitators. So that again, Honorable Speaker, you have seen incidents where foreign direct investors or people who seek to bring investment in this country are conned by conmen who impersonate government officers, and therefore Clause 2 speaks to some of these issues, and we'll be able to streamline our foreign direct investments. And you use accredited specialized investor facilitators, not just every Tom, Dick, and Harry purporting to a facilitator to our foreign direct investors. We will have specialized investor facilitators. Honorable Speaker, Clause 3 mandates that anyone facilitating foreign direct investors must be formally accredited by the Kenya Investment Authority to curb unregulated middlemen, and these are the brokers, Honorable Speaker, I was speaking to, people who masquerade as facilitators for direct foreign investors. And you know, foreign direct investors or foreign investors, because they may not be familiar with the terrain of our investment climate in the country, are taken advantage of by people. Therefore, it will be clear to any foreign direct investor who's coming to invest in the country that they have people who are authorized by the Kenya Investment Authority to be able to do this work to facilitate them. Honorable Speaker, in mainstreaming remote work and business process outsourcing, the amendments that touch on the Employment Act, maybe I should have mentioned that this is almost an omnibus bill that has amendments, as I said, to the Kenya Investment Authority, Kenya Investment Promotion Act. It has amendments that touch on the Employment Act. It has amendments that are touching on affordable housing and land, as I mentioned, amendment to the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in mainstreaming remote work and business process outsourcing, if you members look at Clause 10, it redefines employee and employer under the Employment Act to fully recognize remote workers, specifically those operating under BPOs and IT-enabled arrangements. Because, Honorable Speaker, you know, the old Employment Act, or the old times, Honorable Speaker, employment had to be physical employment where you have a letter of appointment, you have a contract, you have a physical address where you are working from. But in today's world, Honorable Speaker, with business process outsourcing and the remote work environment, you do not necessarily now need to have an appointment letter from anybody or a contract or even a physical address where you work from. You can actually work remotely, and with COVID in 2020, Honorable Speaker, a lot of our workforce moved to remote work, and many other Kenyans now are working under business process outsourcing. And therefore, we must be in a position where we facilitate all these new areas of employment to ensure that our young people in the country are able to access employment, those that can work remotely. And I say this, Honorable Speaker, from experience. I have a young man in my family who for the last 4 years has been working remotely. And I visited him the other month in his apartment on Riara Road. And he has actually converted one of the bedrooms into a fully fledged office. And when I visited him at about lunchtime, hoping to find lunch, I found him asleep. And he told me he had slept that morning at 7 a.m. because he works at night. And that is the innovation, Honorable Speaker, that our young people in this country are taking advantage of, the innovative ways of getting employed across the globe. Somebody is working for a company in the US remotely. Because of the time difference, they are working at night. And therefore, we must create laws that now recognize them as employees who are employed under the Employment Act, and also facilitate those who are in the business of business process outsourcing to be able to hire a workforce from this country without being hindered by the archaic laws that we had under the Employment Act. Honorable Speaker, again, Clause 12 amends the Occupational Safety and Health Act to ensure that legally defined workplaces explicitly cover remote locations. As I said, people now can work from their homes, people can work from other remote locations. You are working for a company in the West, but you are working from your house in Daragwa constituency in Nyandarua. And that speaks also, Honorable Speaker, to the need to enhance our investment in the national superhighway on fiber connectivity so that we ensure that every corner of the Republic, Honorable Speaker, people are able to work remotely, and business process outsourcers can establish centers for BPO operations in any part of the country, so that we also help our urban centers, and especially a place like Nairobi, with addressing barriers like traffic jams. Because when people are working from remote places and from many corners of the Republic, you do not need all to crowd in our urban centers, and therefore we also reduce on the amount of time and resources that we spend on the roads as we seek to get to physical addresses as workplaces. Honorable Speaker, on the Anti-Counterfeit Act, Clause 16 updates definitions in the Anti-Counterfeit Act to address modern economic threats, explicitly outlawing the fraudulent mislabeling of medicine. A very critical aspect, Honorable Speaker, because people have taken advantage of technology again, and people brand medicine. And medicine, Honorable Speaker, you know, is a very delicate aspect of our lives, because you may find paracetamol or a certain drug that is labeled, because people can digitally copy the trademarks and brands that are branded for branded medications, Honorable Speaker. They counterfeit medication and medical applications, Honorable Speaker, causing huge losses, especially, Honorable Speaker, to our ladies. They are the ones who have suffered mostly, especially with what is called, I don't know, I'm stuck on what language to use. And the member for Alda is telling me to be careful. But you know, there's medication that our ladies use to enhance their appearance. There are those who want to look lighter, some want to look darker than their natural shades. I'm told even men, I am happy that I am not in that category. I am happy in the color, the pigmentation of my skin. But you know, many ladies have suffered when they seek to change the pigmentation of their skin color and use products that are branded for what they are not. And they end up, some even getting infected with diseases that eventually become cancerous to their skins. Therefore, these amendments will speak to such issues, Honorable Speaker. If you look at Clause 20, it mandates that the disposal of counterfeit goods must strictly be governed by environmental safety standards and court orders. Honorable Speaker, you know, when we said here that there was a cabinet secretary, former cabinet secretary for Interior, who actually caused people to die out of depression when they banned goods that were branded as counterfeit. And these things had never been taken to any court of law. Nobody had declared them counterfeit, but people in the Ministry of Interior in 2021 decided that they are the ones, together with a few officers of the then Anti-Counterfeit Authority, to declare what is counterfeit and what is not counterfeit. Honorable Speaker, you know, it caused immense pain, especially to many traders in Nyamakema and Kamukunji areas whose goods were impounded and burnt down, Honorable Speaker. Now we are making it mandatory that you must have explicit court orders, and whatever is being disposed must be governed by environmental standards, so that even things that may be detrimental, like battery cells, that must be disposed in a certain way, then you make sure that they are disposed in that manner that is environmentally safe and following court orders. Clause 23 drastically escalates the anti-counterfeit penalties, making offenders liable to fines of up to 2 million shillings and 3 years imprisonment or both, to ensure that nobody deliberately brings in counterfeits that are detrimental to the health or the safety of the citizens of Kenya. And should you contravene, Honorable Speaker, you'll be liable either to a fine of up to 2 million shillings or 3 years imprisonment or both. Honorable Speaker, if I touch on, I've spoken a bit on the clauses that touched on affordable housing and land timelines, and Clause 13 amends the Affordable Housing Act by integrating crucial new definitions into the Act, legally protecting structures like Sharia-compliant financing administration fees. Clause 14 significantly accelerates land transaction timelines under the affordable housing by reducing a chargee's statutory notification period from 90 days to only 45 days. You now don't need 90 days, you only need 45 days to be able to charge your affordable housing units. Clause 15 establishes that a chargee must respect a tight 20-day timeline before exercising the power of sale of property under an affordable housing scheme, so that you must have a statutory timeline of at least 20 days before you exercise the power of sale. If a chargee or a financial institution that has advanced money to a citizen to buy an affordable housing unit, you must adhere to this very strict timelines, so that again, because these affordable housing units are being sold to people who would otherwise not have been able to ever own a house. Should maybe someone lose their source of income, maybe you lose your job, financial institutions will not be in a rush to auction your property and you lose your property. We therefore want to protect citizens to make sure that they are not auctioned at will by our banks and other financial institutions that we have opened up, including the microfinance institutions, which under the Central Bank Amendments Bill, we have opened them up to also be able to finance many of these affordable housing units. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, this bill contains very vital provisions that cut across county governments, regulate critical business operations, and act as a necessary money bill to bolster national growth. Honorable Speaker, as I had mentioned, many of those amendments also touch on inter-county, intra-county business flow and trade of flow of trade. And Honorable Speaker, as I said, the Committee of Finance and National Planning considered this bill. The Trade Committee, under the able leadership of the member for Aldai and the Honorable Shinali, also considered this business laws, and they have made sure that we remove many of the barriers of trade that are there between our counties, so that we have efficient flow of trade in our counties and in our country, even as we seek to encourage our foreign direct investment investors, or those who seek to invest in our country using foreign direct investments. Honorable Speaker, I now want to beg you that you allow me to move this bill to allow other members to contribute. And I would like to request the Honorable Vice Chair of the Trade Committee, the Honorable Member for Aldai, Miriam Keitany, to second this bill.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to second the Business Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 51 of 2024. And as I second, Honorable Speaker, we need to appreciate that the business environment in this country has to be improved. I know it is good, but we have to improve it more. And in that process, we are looking at investments that come into this country and those that are currently running within this country. Starting with the businesses that are within this country, we know that there are businesses that run across counties. And sometime last year, we passed a bill, which is now an act of parliament, that is called the County Licensing Bill, that looked at making sure that there is seamless business operations between or across counties. This particular amendment then further improves that particular area by ensuring that there are information sharing across counties so that businesses can seamlessly trade across businesses. In terms of investment promotion, especially for investors and businesses that are coming into this country, we expect or we would like that these people do not meet otherwise brokers or people who would take advantage of them, by ensuring that the people who bring direct foreign investment are registered by Kenya Investment Promotion, to ensure that all these businessmen and women who come into this country get a good working environment. The issues of employment is also not left out, because a lot of work that is being done by many of our young people, especially under the BPO, require a lot of legislation to ensure that they are not taken advantage of as they are running their businesses. Issues to do with anti-counterfeit. I think anti-counterfeit or counterfeited products have found their way, a lot of it into the country, and that affects real genuine businesses and disrupts business operations. So the amendments to the Anti-Counterfeit Act also allows that those products that are seized because they are anti-counterfeited are managed in such a way that they don't get back into the country. There are many issues also, including issues on affordable housing and land timelines, because as we can see across the country, we have affordable housing that are going on, and most of these affordable housing projects are done in properties that are ideally supposed to be counties, and the licensing between counties and the national government to ensure that that particular plot of land is available for affordable housing, as well as the sale of these affordable houses to the public. Then this particular amendment will allow that the chargee process is also reduced from 90 days to 45 days to allow also that all these young people who have invested in affordable housing are able to then take advantage of those houses and be able to enhance their business operations. I think the bill comes at a better time, because it allows businesses generally in this country to be able to trade and to be able to work in a way that will bring not only income to this country, but also enrich the businessmen and women who will be dealing in this business. And I stand to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Business Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 51 of 2024, be read a second time. Members who want to contribute, kindly press the intervention button. Honorable Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me also to make a comment as I stand to support this bill, the Business Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 51 of 2024. As I do so, Honorable Speaker, we need to bring some facts to bear, very, very clear. Honorable Speaker, a number of the bills acts of parliament being amended fall within the purview of the Committee of Trade, Industry and Cooperative, and I want to go on record and have asked the office of the clerk to confirm those provisions were never submitted or presented to the committee to review and undertake public participation. And I beg to be forgiven if it turns out not to be correct. I will withdraw because I've asked the office of the clerk. I am not aware that it was ever presented to the committee for public participation and processing as required under the standing order.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, just to inform the Honorable Oundo, as I said when I was moving, this bill had been considered for public participation as part of the 2024 Finance Bill by the National Planning and Finance Committee of the National Assembly. You remember then we split those into four bills. This bill, the provisions of business laws, what we christened 2, went to the Senate, and public participation was actually done by the Senate. And in line with what we had agreed to ensure that we conform to the Constitution on prudent management of public resources. When public participation has been done by one house, we do not repeat the same public participation. And actually this bill has gone through public participation at 2 levels in the National Assembly, since all the provisions here had been taken through public participation. The report is there, you can confirm. It had gone through public participation in 2024, and the Senate also did public participation.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Records will stay for itself, we'll review, and then the members of public decide what to do with that kind of information. Honorable Speaker, allow me to touch, first of all, for a start, to touch on the provisions relating to counterfeiting. Yes, the Counterfeiting Act and Counterfeiting Act number 2, Counterfeiting Act. Honorable Speaker, the bill proposes to make drastic changes to the way the authority undertakes its function. One of the most telling change that the amendment bill proposed to do is to define the word disposal. Actually, Honorable Speaker, and this we need to be very careful, they are proposing to change from destruction to disposal. Because ordinarily, once the counterfeit goods are seized, the current act requires they must be destroyed. Once they have been determined to be counterfeit, they have gone through the process, they are required to be destroyed for destruction. The bill at hand here, Honorable Speaker, it says we need to delete the term destruction and use the word disposal. And this is what I want my colleagues to listen, and I want everybody who cares to listen. Disposal now means alienation, donation, conversion, and destruction by any means, or alienation by way of donation of seized or counterfeit goods, depending on their nature, effect on public health, and natural resources. Honorable Speaker and members, colleagues, you need to be very careful. What this is saying, in essence, that once goods have been determined to be counterfeit, they have been seized through the lawful process, there could be a back door how they can find their way back into the market by way of donation. Honorable Speaker, we then, in essence, we have killed the spirit. We have literally killed the fight against counterfeit, the fight against harmful products. Honorable Speaker, that's a matter, as a country, we must have a very honest discussion to ensure that we deal with it. Second, Honorable Speaker, the provisions relating to Investment Promotion Act. Honorable Speaker, it proposes to establish a broker or a facilitator to facilitate registration or a certification of an FDI, foreign direct investor. Honorable Speaker, there's nowhere where the qualification, academic or professional qualification of the so-called facilitator is provided. Honorable Speaker, I remember in the 12th Parliament, the MP for, I think was Makueni, where Honorable Mutuse now holds forth, Dr. Musimba, brought a legislative proposal calling for a lobbyist bill that would have actually allowed anybody to lobby any government department, to lobby anyone for purposes of undertaking some business, to ensure some business is undertaken. Honorable Speaker, without a proper definition of brokers, of a facilitator, a person who seeks to engage in business of facilitating foreign direct investors, Honorable Speaker, we are creating a dangerous situation. We are creating brokers with bad and good intention altogether that are going to destroy this particular country. Honorable Speaker, last weekend, there was talk that, I mean, this has happened all over, where some brokers, some conmen would normally approach people, carry them and take them to government offices and broker non-existent deals and non-existent tenders and leave people having lost money substantially. Honorable Speaker, I do believe we Kenyans must be very careful as we try to make things run, in a haste to make things run, but we create a monster that's going to destroy the very essence of business management in this country. The other provision, Honorable Speaker, is the provision under Clause 6 that makes the repealing Section 8 of the Investment Promotion Act and substituting with the following. An investment certificate once issued shall not be transferable to another person. Honorable Speaker, we are again creating bottlenecks. We are creating bottlenecks. You remember very well, this country remembers well. We were unable to conclude the extraction or exploitation of the oil in Turkana because Tullow Oil Company ran into challenges, technical challenges, financing challenges, and the process of transferring until we got the new arrangement took very many years. If an investor who has gotten a certificate to undertake any business in this country and has run into technical challenges, we must make the transfer process seamless, subject to fulfilling some kind of procedures or rules altogether. But to basically indicate that we don't, such cannot happen, is literally to kill the spirit, probably in which the bill is anchored to facilitate direct foreign investment and to facilitate trade in this country. Clause 11B is much welcome, which really makes a one-stop place for any investor. And I'm happy that's both physical and digital, and I can see them, my friend the MP for Dagoret, is it Dagoret South or Dagoret North, Honorable Kiari, this comes his area of interest to digitize processes, but as we digitize, I hope there's sufficient safeguards and security measures to avoid misuse of information. Probably as we do this, we must put also cognizance the Data Protection Act to ensure that we get things running through. Honorable Speaker, the bill as well, under Clause 8, limits the number of permits that can be given to outsiders. It limits to 6 to shareholders and partners, 6 to work permits for management and technical staff. Honorable Speaker, we must also ask the following question. Does it mean we don't have technical staff in this country? I think this country has invested immensely, and I think at the Committee of the Whole House, we must move an amendment to make it mandatory that only such kind of permits can be issued where there is no people or Kenyans with equivalent qualifications and experience, so that Kenyans continuously get jobs. We don't want to get to such a stressful position that we are seeing in South Africa at the moment, where the locals rise up against Kenyans. I'm told there is an ongoing influx of Burundians in this country that are taking up many of the jobs that Kenyans have been doing all along. Now it's going to cause another issue. Honorable Speaker, there are further amendments to the Employment Act, and I want to draw the attention under Clause 10 that seems to redefine who an employer is. That extending that definition, that's going to become extremely dangerous as we move forward. An agent, a foreman, especially an agent, has been categorized as an employee. An agent has been categorized as an employee. So that means even if I've got a separate arrangement with an agent, with a proper agent's agreement or contract, that becomes an employee, in which event you must as well provide all the benefits and take liability for any act of an agent, even if that agent works for multiple employers elsewhere in the country. So, Honorable Speaker, as much as this bill is laudable, I would request whichever the lead agency that is entitled to look at this, they need to look at very clearly, so that to make sure that we protect the interests of the Kenyans, we make sure we protect the lives and health of the people, we avoid stories whereby we do things that are going to harm our people. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, the majority leader has raised a very fundamental issue of duplication of public resources to undertake public participation by both houses. And I hope, Honorable Speaker, now that becomes like what we would call case law, will never be taken to another round of circus that was especially a case, let's do a separate case. In short, I support.
Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also stand to support the Business Laws Amendment Bill, which is in essence an omnibus bill that seeks to amend a couple of acts of parliament in line with what the mover did say in regards to the current situation and what has happened within the finance bill. Honorable Speaker, I just want to specifically mention a couple of clauses that I feel are very important to us and to the people of Kenya. The first one, Honorable Speaker, being the issue of the Investment Promotion Act, which when you look at clause 6 to 9 has clearly outlined the amendments that are being proposed therein, one of which being maintenance of the register and also ensuring that there is provision for a comprehensive centralized facility where registration can actually take place, and also collaboration with other public institutions. Honorable Speaker, the other very important amendment that we have is in line with the Employment Act, and in particular clauses 10 and 11. And just as Honorable Oundo has clearly outlined, this is very important, especially because we now have a comprehensive definition of what an employer and an employee is, including, Honorable Speaker, to people who work within the technology enabling environment, and also to people who work on-site and off-site. And Honorable Speaker, I know this is one area that the chair of CII is very happy about, because we've had very many conversations and engagements about the gig economy and how, as Parliament, we can seek to ensure that we are supporting the gig economy. Because nowadays, Honorable Speaker, a lot of people are doing either one or more jobs, or they're actually working away from home, not on site. So, Honorable Speaker, this is very, very important for them, because now the definition actually covers the areas that are relating to them. Honorable Speaker, if you also look at the clause 9, which speaks about the Occupation Safety and Health Act, this has also ensured, especially on clause 12, that it has realigned and redefined the employer to be in line with the previous clauses that I have talked about, so that now they are properly aligned. And also, Honorable Speaker, there's a comprehensive definition of a workplace to include land, premises, on-site, remote locations, including on a vessel, because, Honorable Speaker, there are instances where people actually work in a vessel that is moving. So this for them is very important, so that in matters relating to occupation safety and healthy, then in essence they are covered. Honorable Speaker, another set of amendments that are very comprehensive and very important is from clause 16 through to clause 24, which talks about the Anti-Counterfeit Act and the various issues that have actually been mentioned there. Honorable Speaker, one of the issues that I really want to emphasize on is when you look at clause 19, part C, which then gives a comprehensive definition of what we call disposal, because we were only focusing on just one particular term, which is destruction. But now disposal, Honorable Speaker, seeks to ensure that the harmful commodities that are within the market, that there is proper disposal of this, that they are seized, they are detained, and where applicable, removed for detention, any tools which may be used in the manufacturing, production, and making or packaging of these goods. Honorable Speaker, this is very important, because just destruction of the counterfeit goods is not good enough. We also need to have a system in place where there's actually a proper investigation into what is contained in these particular goods. Honorable Speaker, just to cite the example that was given earlier by the Majority Leader in terms of some of the products that are used by not only ladies but also men as well, is that this definition then really assists us to make sure that within the market, within Kenya, we are protecting the consumers properly. And so, Honorable Speaker, the business laws that we do have in place are very important. There are quite a number of them, quite very detailed, but also very significant for all of us. And for those reasons, Honorable Speaker, I support and I submit. I thank you.
Thank you. And before we proceed on, I'd like to recognize the Nandi County University Students Association from Nandi County, who are seated in the public gallery. On behalf of the substantive speaker and myself, we welcome you to the precincts of Parliament. Thank you. Honorable Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kuunga marekebisho ya mswada huu ulioletwa bungeni ibara 51 ya mwaka 2024. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni dhahiri kuwa mapokezi ya mswada huu marekebisho nimepokea vizuri sana Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu makusudi yake ni kunyoosha hasa tukiingia katika mfumo wa dijitali ili kuweza kuangalia na kuweka ile data kamili, tujue nani anaingiza mzigo katika taifa, wale ambao wanataka kufanya biashara katika taifa hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, wamepewa mwafaka vizuri wa kuweza kujua na kufanyiwa wepesi wa kujiandikisha kwenye makampuni tofauti tofauti. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, nikiangalia katika special economic zone mambo ya kuleta miundo misingi na mambo mengi sana ya biashara. Mheshimiwa Spika, juzi na jana tumeenda kupata mafunzo Singapore. Mheshimiwa Spika, na kule tumepata mfumo wao wa kidijitali. Mheshimiwa Spika, imeweza kuwapa malengo mazuri sana mpaka imeweza kuvutia wawekezaji wengi sana wa makampuni tofauti tofauti katika Singapore, ambayo ndio imewapa mwanya mkubwa sana wa kuweza kufanya biashara, kufungua biashara tofauti tofauti, na biashara zikifunguliwa watoto wa kule wamekuwa wakipata kazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa muda mrefu Kenya tumelia ukosefu wa ajira, lakini ni kwa sababu sisi tulikuwa hatuna mfumo mzuri na ule ambao unaweza kuwavutia wale wawekezaji. Lakini mfumo huu ambao umewekwa katika hino bill, Mheshimiwa Spika, ama mswada huu, ni mfumo ambao unaweka wazi, unaonyesha kuwa hakuna siri zingine mbovu ambazo mwekezaji aweza kuwa na uoga wa kuweza kuwekeza hapa Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo mimi nikiangalia hata pale Dongo Kundu tunahitaji wawekezaji wengi sana waje, na pengine ule mfumo uliokuweko mwanzo ulikuwa unaweza kuwaregesha nyuma sana wawekezaji wengi. Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini wamewekewa wazi kabisa bayana kuwa hapa unaweza kuangalia uweza kuleta kitu gani, ukauza nini, na ukajaza katika njia elektroniki na ukaweza kujirejista katika Kenya na ukaleta biashara. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikiangalia pia Mheshimiwa Spika, wameweza kunyoosha mabenki yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, ilikuwa wengine wanafanya mambo ya ujanja ndani ya benki. Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini naona umepatia nguvu Benki Kuu ya Taifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ili kuweza kuangalia hizi benki ndogo ndogo waweze kufuata sheria vile inavyotakikana. Mheshimiwa Spika, ambalo ni jambo zuri sana. Na ukiangalia pia wale ambao walikuwa wakitoa mikopo kwa watu au ambao mnawaita lenders au ambao wanafanya kama microfinance. Mheshimiwa Spika, Wakenya wengi walikuwa wanahangaika sana, lakini katika mswada huu imeweza kuwasaidia Wakenya. Watakuwa wanaelewa kuwa hapa, hata kama Banki Kuu itakuwa inawaangalia wale, watakuwa wanajua hapa Mkenya amekosewa ama amekiwa sahihi, iko sawa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo najua kutokana na mswada huu hata wale microfinance pia wataweza kuwapa Wakenya heshima yao na kuweza kufanya kazi kama vile sheria inavyotaka. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, pia inafanya wepesi wa biashara ama trade kuweza kuwa na wepesi zaidi sana katika bili hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, zamani ilikuwa watu wanatumia kanjanja, njia ya nyuma. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukawa tunapata hata kuna wakati tumepata sukari, mchele mara ya plastiki, ile kuchunguza inakuwa ngumu. Mheshimiwa Spika, ijulikani nani alileta, lakini katika mfumo huu Mheshimiwa Spika, inaweka wazi kuwa hata yule mwanabiashara atakuwa anaonekana katika sheria wazi. Ukiingia tu kwenye dijitali unaangalia, unajua huyu ameleta nini, nani muhusika mkuu wa biashara fulani. Mheshimiwa Spika, na Mheshimiwa Spika, kama walivyozungumza wenzangu hapo mbele, mimi naona tu niunge mkono, kwa sababu mambo yaliyoko hapa kwenye hii bill ni mambo mazuri sana tena sana, na hasa kupatia nguvu Central Bank ya Kenya ama Banki Kuu ya Taifa kuweza kuangalia na kufuata sheria ili haya mabanki mengine yasiweze kuvunja sheria. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikiangalia Mombasa County tumekuwa mpaka na mjane ambaye amekuwa akilalamika, Mheshimiwa Spika, hajui akaunti yake ilitolewa vipi pesa. Mume wake alikufa, lakini mtu akafanya filfinyange yake akatoa pesa za mume wake. Sasa amekuwa baina ya koti na kujificha, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu mfumo haujakaa sawa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini kitu kama hichi, sheria ambayo inaletwa, na nilisikia Mheshimiwa kiongozi wa wengi akisema 2024 wale ambao walipinga hiyo bill hii ilikuwa ndani. Wajua Mheshimiwa Spika, kitu kizuri kikijificha ndani ya vitu vingine ambavyo havijakaa vizuri sana, mambo hutokea kama haya. Lakini maadamu imeletwa hapa, tunaweza kuipiga msasa, na mimi naweza kuisupport Mheshimiwa Kuria. Hii ni kitu kizuri. Kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa, mimi naipiga support na nasema ni bili nzuri. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable Kimani Kuria.
Honorable Speaker, I ran into a risk of trying to give a point of information to the honorable member in Swahili, and then I'll have to make my contributions in Swahili, and then I'll be stuck. So I think I'll just make my contribution on what I want to do, a point of information to the great member for Mombasa County in English, and tell the member, these are some of the issues that it's very important that I brought to this House. It is important that you write, you seek a statement, and it comes to State Department, to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, so that we can make central bank to be accountable in the supervision of those banks. What the honorable member is saying about withdrawals being made on members' account on commercial banks without the authority of the customers, it's something that is very widespread. We are seeing a lot of that in social media, and we must bring that to the end. And because you have given central bank powers to bite through the many amendments you've done to the CBK Act, by giving those powers, honorable member, I want you to bring that request to this House so that we make sure that that vulnerable customer gets her right and gets her money refunded.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa ndugu yangu Kuria. Ni kitu ambacho kimenisumbua sana, na huu mjane amelia sana miaka mingi, mamilioni ya pesa ambayo yameenda hivi, na mimi nashukuru umenipa nguvu ya kuweza kuileta hapa, manake mwanzo nilileta ikawa imepotea pale table office, haikuweza kufika. Kwa hiyo nitaifuatilia ili niweze kumsaidia huu mjana anaitwa Mama Jaizan aweze kupata haki yake, manake mume wake amekufa na pesa zilitolewa, hundreds of millions zilitolewa kwenye account, na sasa bado yatishiwa mpaka maisha. Kwa hiyo bili hii mimi naisupport sana, na nasema umefanya kazi nzuri kama kamati. Asante sana.
You may proceed, Honorable Kimani Kuria.
Thank you very much, and I want to guarantee the honorable member for Mombasa, you know, like the leader of majority said, this Senate Bill number 51 was taken to the Senate in 2024. It has taken that honorable House 1.5 years to process a very simple bill of like 5-6 pages. And now we are wondering, what if they were to process the many bills we process in this House? We probably will end up with an end of an election cycle without seeing any single bill being processed by that House, Honorable Speaker. So I want to assure the Honorable MP for Mombasa that we shall, if you bring the statement tomorrow, we'll give a response by the time we are coming back from recess. Honorable Speaker, this omnibus bill is seeking to modernize Kenya's legal and regulatory framework to create a more competitive, transparent, and investor-friendly business environment. Honorable Speaker, it's important to mention that this is aligning well with international best practice, investments facilitation, regulatory efficiency, and digital economy governance. These principles, Honorable Speaker, are the ones that are championed by the UN Conference on Trade and Development. They are also that are championed by the World Bank's doing business methodology and successful investment agencies in countries that we emulate in terms of good investment policies like Singapore, Mauritius, and United Arab Emirates. Honorable Speaker, this bill is a perfect example of the promise the Kenya Kwanza administration made to Kenyans, that the administration of this government will be based on its manifesto. And Honorable Speaker, one of the greatest manifestos that when we're doing the economic agendas across the county was the issue of ease of doing business, was ease of investment in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this bill shows that this administration is not just making promises on its manifesto, but is making laws, is making policies that implement its manifesto agenda after agenda, Honorable Speaker. And perhaps this is what differentiates this administration from the previous administrations that have been based on ethnic mantras. So where every election is a few kingpins, if we call them, combined together and decide this is how we are going to go. By the time we are going to the next election, the party composition has changed, the leadership has changed, and then a different agenda has taken force, Honorable Speaker. This shows the commitment of the Kenya Kwanza administration of making policies and laws that implements its Kenya bottom-up transformation agenda, Honorable Speaker. This is going to reduce bureaucratic hurdles, provide a regulatory framework, protect workers and consumers, and position Kenya as a preferred destination for quality foreign direct investments. Honorable Speaker, the facilitation of a one-stop shop model is going to establish a centralized, and it's important to mention it's going to be both physical and digital. So we're going to have a both physical and digital facility for all investor services. And this, Honorable Speaker, is a proven test best practice record used by top-performing investment promotion agencies worldwide. Honorable Speaker, it's going to have a clear criteria for foreign direct investment registration, investment certificates, reducing discretion, and enhancing investor confidence. Those are the days where now you'll have to know somebody in the office, Honorable Speaker, to be registered or to be licensed as an investor, because this law is providing that seamless legal framework that differentiates investors from Honorable Speaker and gives them even investment certificates showing their commitment to investment in our country. Honorable Speaker, it's going to have balanced speed and safeguards. It's going to accelerate processes, especially on the matter of affordable housing, while maintaining protection for workers, consumers, and environment. Honorable Speaker, the issue of intellectual property has been talked about here, Honorable Speaker. We've seen in previous administration where counterfeit goods were just banned without any warning to the business people, Honorable Speaker. And most of the time, the businesses were found in a way, Honorable Speaker. You will see recently, Honorable Speaker, we have been treated to a few shows, Honorable Speaker, of legitimate brands. You know, a few of the international legitimate brands, Honorable Speaker, have now opened shops in Nairobi. And Honorable Speaker, Kenyans have been wondering now what brands they've been wearing because the prices of those brands have been very different from what you buy from the markets, Honorable Speaker. So some of the time, these business people, they are found not because they deliberately buying or trading in counterfeit products, but because they didn't know, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, there are now safeguards that ensures even in the event that you are trading in counterfeit products and you did not, Honorable Speaker, there is legal redress that is given to you, Honorable Speaker. The bill is introducing accreditation of investments facilitators with clear procedures, penalties, and which is going to promote professionalism and accountability, Honorable Speaker. However, after continuous assessment, Honorable Speaker, and public participation, our committee will be recommending that we have a reporting requirement for this particular investment certificate holders, Honorable Speaker. We're going to require the investors to tell us, since you have given them these incentives to work in our country, since you've given them these licenses, since you've given them this preferential treatment as investors, how many employees have they employed? How many products have they manufactured, Honorable Speaker? What technology transfers have they done to our local, Honorable Speaker? Because, Honorable Speaker, we've had, for example, this big problem, especially in SEZs. Well, Honorable Speaker, we have SEZ registered persons. And then when you go to that SEZ, it's just empty land. Honorable Speaker, they are reporting huge investment deductions, they're reporting huge tax and Honorable Speaker, only to realize that they're not making any contribution to our economy, Honorable Speaker, by just being as a tax haven, Honorable Speaker. This one-stop facility is going to be a centralized, as I said, both physical and digital. It's going to cover business registration, tax customs, immigration work permits, county approvals, utilities, SEZ admissions, environmental compliance, among many others, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this reminds me of the legendary invention of Huduma centers, Honorable Speaker. Before the invention of Huduma, before the creation of Huduma centers, you needed to go to one office for a birth certificate, for another one for a marriage certificate, for another one for an ID, for another one for a voter's card, Honorable Speaker. But the invention of Huduma centers revolutionized how Kenyans receive how individual Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, received government services. Honorable Speaker, this Invest Kenya offices, therefore, Honorable Speaker, will be the new Huduma Centers of investors, Honorable Speaker. So the revolution that Huduma Centers did, Honorable Speaker, is what we hope that this particular Invest Kenya offices, Honorable Speaker, will do to our business people and to investors. Honorable Speaker, the issue of employees has been talked about, and the definition of employees as per the Employees Act. Honorable Speaker, the issue of business process outsourcing is now the new era of employment globally, Honorable Speaker. You know, companies have established that their business, if my business is, for example, to sell in a is a retail business, Honorable Speaker, like a supermarket, the owners of this business have realized that it's not their business to police which employees get late, who does not perform very well, who leaves early, Honorable Speaker, whose maternity leave is coming up, whose paternity leave is coming up, who is holding for Honorable Speaker. And they have now told that business, and we have now very many successful businesses that are doing the business of just employee handling, Honorable Speaker. And it's very important, therefore, that we redefine or we cause now a different definition of who an employee is in the Employment Act so that to reflect this new reality of business process outsourcing, and also remote location working, Honorable Speaker. But it's also important, Honorable Speaker, as we do that, we also define what workings are going to be put in place to make sure that these remote location employees, Honorable Speaker, are not also subject to abuse, Honorable Speaker. We have enough safeguards in the Employment Act on leaves, on holidays, on working hours, Honorable Speaker, and therefore it's also important, even as we introduce this amendment to allow business process outsourcing to the definition of employer, to make sure that also these remotely employed employees enjoy the same rights as the physically employed employees, Honorable Speaker. On the issue of affordable housing, the shortening of the timelines from 45 days to 20 days, Honorable Speaker, is very important because it's going to accelerate delivery. However, Honorable Speaker, it's also important that we look at how this may not be exploited, Honorable Speaker, especially for a vulnerable household, Honorable Speaker, so that we ensure that there is a balance between that service delivery, Honorable Speaker, and is not subject to abuse, Honorable Speaker. On the issue of counterfeit, there is now going to be introduction of seizure and disposal of non-compliant goods and introducing a stronger penalties of up to 2 million shillings or 3 million shillings in payments, Honorable Speaker. As I said, the seizure has now to be supported by a court order, and even if there is disposal, then that disposal must be environmentally sensitive, Honorable Speaker. You know, there is a joke that was happening around when some counterfeit, not counterfeit, some drugs, Honorable Speaker. I think it was I forget which drugs were found, and then they were burned down. And then the officers who are supervising the burning of these drugs, Honorable Speaker, were just standing next to those drugs, Honorable Speaker. And now you can imagine now that means they were smoking those drugs, Honorable Speaker, that they were purporting to dispose. So it's very important that we safeguard the environmental sensitivity, Honorable Speaker, even when we are disposing some of these products, Honorable Speaker. Again, this is going to make sure that we protect our environment. Overall benefits, Honorable Speaker, on ease of doing business, this bill is going to reduce redundant bureaucracy through the one-stop facility and clearer procedures. It's going to ensure there's greater predictability and transparency in foreign direct investment processes and regulatory requirements. It's going to ensure there's lower transaction costs and time for investors and businesses. There's going to be a modern labor framework that supports digital economy growth while upholding worker protections, Honorable Speaker. And it's also going to ensure there is stronger IP enforcement that safeguards innovation and investment. And lastly, it's going to ensure there is targeted acceleration of strategic sectors, especially affordable housing and FDI facilitation, Honorable Speaker. So my call for action, Honorable Speaker, on this particular bill is that this bill is representing best practice legislative reform that will reduce red tape, enhance transparency, modernize our laws for the digital age, and make Kenya a more attractive destination for quality investment. It directly improves our ease of doing business while protecting Kenyan workers, consumers, and national interests. I urge members to support the bill at second reading and during the Committee of the Whole House so that we can deliver tangible improvements in our business environment and accelerate economic transformation. Honorable Chairperson, in as much as now we're involving counties in terms of on this licensing, Honorable Speaker, it's important we give them responsibilities, Honorable Speaker, because what you've seen also counties do, where particular functions have been carried over by national government, then you have county governments giving it a bath, Honorable Speaker, and therefore making it even more difficult, Honorable Speaker. And lastly, it's also very important that this House allocates enough resources, Honorable Speaker, to this new entity so that it carries out the expanded mandate, Honorable Speaker, that's doing. And perhaps now that this bill, with now Senate taking more than 1.5 years to bring this bill back to this House, we might have to through the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the Trade Committee, when if we'll be considering a supplementary budget to make sure that this institution is now well resourced. Because my presumption is the resources that were given to this institution was before the passing of this law, which means before the additional responsibilities that have been given to Kenya Invest. So, Honorable Speaker, let us pass this bill to send a clear signal to investors, local and foreign, that Kenya is open to quality business, it is ready for digital economy, and committed to a predictable, efficient, and fair regulation. That, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support.
Has the question been proposed?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also stand to support the Business Law Amendment Bill 2024 that was originated for the Senate and also tabled by Honorable Majority Leader. Mr. Speaker, I also sat in the Committee of Trade, Cooperative and Industry, and we are happy to see this bill, and just consulted with my colleague, and I've been told that it is started 2024. So, and we would like to give our views in the House. But I also just to comment that basically, when you check on the purpose of the bill, bringing this business, bring the business in one center, that is a registration of foreign direct investment and accreditation of facilitators for foreign investors. It is something that internationally is happening. And I'm happy that I also relate with it, Mr. Speaker, because I come from the border in Loitoktok, place around the last place called Taveta. It's called Tarakea, it's our border. And even within the Taveta, there's also another border there. And the benefit people are getting from Namanga on the clearing of goods because of one-stop center that is there, that is being contributed to Kenya and Tanzania, the movement of goods is becoming so easy. Mr. Speaker, at a time that we're trying to bring everything together because the business bills that operate within the environment of the business, there are so many. So by putting them together, it's going to assist us a lot. And I was trying to check on a bill that, or what is internationally practical. If you check on the omnibus bill in UK, they've also introduced the same thing. This country, in the 13th Parliament, I don't want to say about the other, the 12th and 11th, but the 13th Parliament is doing a lot. I've tried to check even they have even assisted. And I want to tell Majority Leader, this bill is good because it's originated from the Senate. The people who have always taken us behind, dragging us in to make sure the bills are coming faster, is the Senate. Because the other time we started the county licensing procedural bill, whereby we say that a license from Kajiado can be practical in Kiambu, can be practical in Kisumu, can be practical in Siaya, whereby when you clear a good from Mombasa, you don't have a lot of problem in terms of people stopping you in the roads, trying to check on which kind of license do you have. And that one has sorted our issues in terms of transport, and they are very happy. When we check about Huduma Center, the theory behind Huduma Centers, my colleagues have said, it was just bringing all services within one umbrella. And that one has really sorted everything. So I urge this House today that as we are supporting this bill, we clearly see it does not contravene the Constitution or trying to destroy or end the amendments of the Constitution. It's just trying to make it everything simple and precise. The issue of central bank being given the oversight role, expansion of central bank to be given oversight role in the proposed bill, is something, Mr. Speaker, that's very encouraging. Private sector are included. Manufacturers are included. You can go on and on. In the counterfeit that we have been having a challenge, Mr. Speaker, importation of goods that comes from outside the country, sometimes we find them, they don't meet standards. But having an authority to control becomes a challenge, Mr. Speaker. We have been counterfeit authority itself always appears to us as a committee. We try to challenge them. We try to ask them, what are we seeing this in the what does not come in, that's not meeting standard. I remember when the time of the China Square, when we were arguing about the China Square products from China being sold in this country, in this like a product that's supposed to go for, they're getting them cheaply there. We don't know the standard, but now our local traders in River Road, in hawkers, got this advantage. But later, the fight keeps on going. But there was nothing to control them. So having this one, which is international, either physically, you see the bill proposed, it can be physical or digital. Meaning that even if you are bringing things from outside the country or anything that's coming outside the country is in one direction. There's an authority. There are people who are going to be answerable. There are people who can be able to check and report this committee. So the issue of standard and quality is going to be achieved. So, Mr. Speaker, when you look about the issue of housing, the issue of lands, there are so many things that have been captured in this bill, Mr. Speaker, that I urge this House, let us all of us support this bill, and if possible, we move faster on this one because it's really touching across the line of the business atmosphere in our country. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to give me to contribute, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Point of order, Honorable.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to rise on standing order 96.
Yes.
To seek adjournment of this debate, Honorable Speaker, because of the issues, some of the issues that we had spoken to that Honorable Ondo had also alluded to. The committee is still considering part of this bill, therefore seek the indulgence of the House that we adjourn this debate to a later date to allow us to touch on the competition amendment bill and also the report on the audited financial statements for the 6 state corporations. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I propose the question that the debate be now adjourned. Honorable members, I put the question, the debate be now adjourned. As many as the opinion say aye. Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 12, the Competition Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2026, second reading.
Majority Leader, proceed.
Sorry, Honorable Speaker, I was consulting Honorable Ondo. No, he's very mischievous at times. I wanted to imagine that we are climbing down on that debate is because we want to also touch on this competition amendment bill that is very critical and also allow the Committee on Trade to finish the consultations that they are doing on that particular bill. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the competition amendment bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2026, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, this bill is also still undergoing public participation by the Committee of Finance and National Planning, and therefore from the onset just to indicate that we do not seek to conclude debate on this bill because the committee is still considering the public participation on this particular bill, But considering that we debate the bill, we can begin debate, but we also be seeking at some point, the chair of the committee will be seeking adjournment to a later date to allow us to conclude with debate after the committee has concluded with its engagement with stakeholders. But this is a very important bill, Honorable Speaker, whose key objective is to amend the Competition Act. And you know we have had a Competition Act that has served this country very well. But with emerging technological changes, especially in the digital marketplace, there are certain changes that require further amendments to our Competition Act to ensure that we align our legal framework with the emerging realities in that digital economy. Honorable Speaker, you know, when the Competition Act was done some years back, the digital commerce space was not as robust as it is today. And today we have a very robust digital space, marketplace, and a lot of our people are trading on the digital marketplace. Therefore, you may find that there are also dominant players that are in play in the digital marketplace and are engaging in practices that are against the Competition Act. And therefore, we must align our Competition Act to be in line with the changing technological world. Honorable Speaker, the primary objective, therefore, of this bill is, as I said, first, to have that robust legal parameter that we identify, monitor, and regulate dominant players and intermediaries operating across online platforms, so that even on our online platforms, online marketing platforms, we don't have dominant players who will then edge out any competition, especially from our young people who are using our digital space of digital platforms or online platforms to market goods and services, and they may be subjected to a lot of unfair competition by people who are dominant or bigger corporate players who are dominant. Two, we seek to prohibit the abuse of superior bargaining positions, preventing powerful corporates or powerful corporate actors from exploiting vulnerable business counterparties or vulnerable entrepreneurs who may suffer the fate because probably what you are producing, and this, Honorable Speaker, pertains more so to farmers and those who are dealing with agricultural produce. You may find that there is a dominant buyer of a product that you are producing. And because they almost enjoy a sort of monopoly in the purchase, they then have very unfair buyer practices that are detrimental to the growth of business. Therefore, this bill has provisions that seek to prohibit such abusive superior bargaining positions by corporate players. It also seeks, Honorable Speaker, to execute a critical logical reorganization by relocating and consolidating buyer power regulations under the newly created unfair market conduct framework. Further, it strengthens enforcement capabilities by introducing severe administrative penalties tied directly to a firm's gross annual turnover, so that where a firm or a corporate organization or a business has contravened provisions within this act, the provisions of this act, the penalties will be tied directly to your annual turnover. So the bigger the organization or the bigger the business, the higher the penalty will be based on your turnover. Honorable Speaker, on regulation of digital platforms, I indicated that our digital platforms such as online marketplaces, search engines, the app stores that we all use, and social media platforms are now playing a very significant role in commerce. And while these innovations, Honorable Speaker, as I mentioned, have created opportunities and employment opportunities for many people, they have also introduced new risks of unfair market dominance and anti-competitive conduct, where, as I said, you may find one, probably because one is more endowed resource-wise, and they have better search engines, they have better resources to deploy in technological innovations. They then engage in very unfair market practices because they become dominant in the market and therefore edge out any competition. And therefore, we want to ensure that even in the digital workspace or the digital marketplace, small players, the people who are selling their wares on social media platforms, those who are using app stores that they do not run the search engines and are paying a small fee to use those search engines, are not subjected to unfair trade practices or unfair business competition, and they can be able to fairly compete with even the bigger market players in whatever industry they are in. This bill therefore empowers the Competition Authority of Kenya to effectively regulate digital market activities and ensure fair competition within the digital space, therefore encompassing that new space of the digital marketplace. Honorable Speaker, in strengthening the other key objective I said is to strengthen consumer protection and also address abuse of buyer power. And in strengthening consumer protection, Honorable Speaker, the bill further strengthens protection of consumers against false or misleading misrepresentations or representations relating either to pricing, the quality of a good, guarantees, sponsorship, and even the origin of goods and services, Honorable Speaker, because we have seen instances where people have a certain preference for goods manufactured in Kenya, and a good is manufactured in another country, part of the, without mentioning particular countries because they are friendly nations, in the Far East, for instance, because probably the cost of production there is cheaper, they imitate a product that is being manufactured in Kenya or even in Germany or in England. I remember, Honorable Speaker, there are hammers. In the old days when I was much younger, people preferred hammers and cutting saws from those that were made in England. And then people will manufacture those things from the Far East and misrepresent this as having been made in England, made in Kenya, and even our own products. Our tea is being imitated, and just the branding is put as tea made in Kenya or Kenyan tea, but it's actually not Kenyan tea. It's a blend of probably a very small fraction of Kenyan tea with other teas from other places. And therefore, this bill seeks to protect consumers so that when a representation of a product is made, it is made in Kenya, made in England, made in Germany, it actually is made in that particular place where it has been, is being billed has been made from. Even unfair things like pricing, people are being lied to. A product is marketed online on a digital marketplace as costing so many shillings. But then when you actually go to order on the platform, it charges you from either your M-Pesa or your card a price different from what was represented. And therefore, this bill seeks to protect wananchi from such exploitation or deceptive practices and unfair commercial conduct. Honorable Speaker, as I mentioned, also the other objective of this bill is to address abuse of buyer power. And as I said, Honorable Speaker, this is one of the key things that this bill seeks to introduce relating to abuse of buyer power. And buyer power, Honorable Speaker, comes in where we have many small suppliers and businesses who continue to suffer from delayed payments, unfair contract termination, unilateral price reductions, and oppressive contractual conditions imposed by dominant buyers. And I gave the example, especially, Honorable Speaker, of the agricultural produce and agricultural products. For instance, and let me just use one of the industries, the beer sector, Honorable Speaker. We have only one beer brewer, serious big beer brewer who is dominant in the economy, EABL. And therefore, they probably be the only significant buyer of barley or sorghum. And therefore, because they are dominant, they are likely, and I don't say that EABL is doing this, I'm just using them as an example, Honorable Speaker, they are likely to have very unfair contractual termination, terms of contractual terminations with small-time suppliers and small-time growers of barley or sorghum. They may be tempted, Honorable Speaker, to delay payments because if in a case where will you take your barley or your malt or your sorghum, if they are not buying it, and the other small players in the market who are not dominant may not have the capacity to buy your produce. And not just that, Honorable Speaker, even Safaricom. Safaricom is dominant in the market to some extent. And therefore, you may be a supplier of certain goods and services that you can only sell or probably in a large quantity to Safaricom or to that dominant player. And I'm using these companies, Honorable Speaker, as mere examples, not accusing these companies of being companies that are entertaining unfair trade practices, because I know they have been dominant but been largely been very responsible in the way they conduct their business. But it is possible that you find a dominant player in the market who then takes advantage of their dominance in the market because they are almost like the sole buyer. Even KPLC, for instance, people who are signing power purchase agreements. Who else will you sell power to in Kenya if not KPLC? And therefore, to protect the suppliers, small suppliers, someone who is producing solar power in northern Kenya, someone who is producing wind energy in Marsabit, someone who is producing geothermal from a small well in Menengai or somewhere else, Honorable Speaker, to protect those people from dominant players, dominant buyers, then we are introducing amendments that under this bill will protect and safeguard suppliers, especially small and medium enterprises, by requiring fair contractual terms and imposing sanctions against abusive conduct by the dominant players. Honorable Speaker, in enhancing powers of the Competition Authority, as I said, there are also amendments that seek to enhance the powers of the Competition Authority. And the bill strengthens the investigative and enforcement powers of the Competition Authority to enable it to effectively discharge its mandate. And the authority will have enhanced powers to conduct market inquiries, obtain information, investigate anti-competitive conduct, and enforce compliance with the law. So that, Honorable Speaker, the Competition Authority doesn't become a toothless bulldog or a toothless dog. It has to be one that can bite. So that if any dominant player, whether you are a dominant buyer or a dominant player in any sector or in any industry, the Competition Authority will now have mandate and powers to conduct inquiries without reference to you or to obtain information from other players in the market, investigate any anti-competitive conduct that any player may be engaging in. And this, Honorable Speaker, will in a great way improve efficiency in market regulation and enhance investor confidence. Honorable Speaker, allow me to digress a bit and also speak to the Competition Authority of Kenya. Because CA, or the Competition Authority, has a very important mandate to deliver to the people of Kenya. And I say this, Honorable Speaker, because this is one authority that also has very huge potential. The Competition Authority, after the passage of this bill, with its enhanced powers, should have no business. And I want to speak to the chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee. CA will have no business coming back to this house to look for exchequer allocations or to look for resource allocations. This is one authority that should be able to generate their own resources through appropriations in aid. And I say this, Honorable Speaker, because I am seeing the potential of the Competition Authority to even be able to generate revenue without us having every now and then to keep reviewing our taxation laws to raise revenue. For instance, Honorable Speaker, I have just seen a transaction between Asahi, a Japanese conglomerate, and Diageo, with the purchase of shares in UDV, the distillers, and EABL shares in Diageo. Honorable Speaker, if you look at what was reported in the media, the value of that transaction alone is in excess of 380 billion shillings. 380 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker, is not a small amount. But it's a transaction that, for instance, on stamp duty alone, we should be able to raise billions for CA and for KRA. And therefore, I want to be asking the chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee to also engage the Competition Authority on that particular transaction to ensure that we will not see again what happened, I think, around 2019, 2020. Many Kenyans will remember when NCBA Bank, what was then the Commercial Bank of Africa, and NIC Bank merged, or rather CBA bought NIC. And in that merger, Honorable Speaker, we saw the unthinkable. A bank or two commercial banks that were making huge profits at a time when this country was ravaged by the COVID pandemic, when we were losing revenue because other businesses were not making money. Out of state capture, we saw in that merger or in that transaction, because the owners of CBA Bank, Commercial Bank of Africa, held the levers of power, political power. Out of state capture, we saw them exempt themselves from paying close to 300 billion shillings in stamp duty. I'm saying this, Honorable Speaker, because I do not know who these Asahi and Diageos are, because they're all foreigners. But again, we must not see another instance of state capture where people will use such transactions to evade paying taxes. The Finance and National Planning Committee of this House must ensure that all taxes due are duly paid without exemption, Honorable Speaker. You know, Honorable Speaker, we talk about sin taxes when we are taxing beer or rather alcohol, cigarettes, and such other undesirable things, including betting. But these businesses are there and they live with us, they are playing their role in helping to grow our economy in payment of taxes. And therefore, we want to encourage all other foreign direct investors who want to come and invest in this industry in our country. But even as they come, Honorable Speaker, because the laws are there are levies or there are fees to be paid to the Competition Authority. Chair, National Finance and Planning Committee, you must ensure that all levies and fees due on this transaction between Diageo and Asahi are paid. What is payable is paid and paid in full without exemption. We must not see instances like we saw in the other regime where people are using, and I know you know also some of the owners of EABL, Honorable Speaker, are not small-time people, are not me and you. They are people who have held state power in this country. Therefore, we must ensure that in that transaction, stamp duty is paid. If there's any corporate tax that will be due, it must be paid, and the fees due to CA. And I say this because I want to speak to the Competition Authority. There must be no monkey games in this transaction. I know there are those who attempted, Honorable Speaker. You know, the danger in this country, Honorable Speaker, and I saw one of our officers from Nairobi City County, a young man called Tyrus Njoroge, asking people on a TV show, if you know you're supposed to pay so much in license fees, then you don't pay, you're not compliant. Then you allow city council officers to come and harass you and demand money in cash for you, and you have been told all you need to do is pay your license fees of 20 or 25,000 shillings digitally. You don't even need to transact in cash with anybody in the city county of Nairobi, but you don't pay for your license fee. Then you allow corruption to thrive within that space, because when enforcement officers come, you want to give them 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings. At the end of the financial year, you'll have paid more than the license fee would have paid. It is the same thing that happens in some of these organizations. And that's why I'm speaking about the Competition Authority. Certain officers in government agencies will now go and tell the investors, what we can do, we can strike a deal. Instead of you paying stamp duty of, say, 38 billion shillings on this 380 billion shillings transaction, we can organize how you will pay a lesser amount, but under the table, give us this much. I want to tell those investors, don't dare. Don't dare. What is in law must be paid as is provided for in law. Only Parliament, and I repeat, only Parliament can vary taxes. National Assembly, not even Parliament, only this House, where I am speaking from. Only the National Assembly has powers under the Constitution and our laws to vary any taxes, or to impose, or to waive, or to exempt any taxes. not even the cabinet secretary, national treasury. That is why every time they need to do something in variation of taxes or fees and levies under the Miscellaneous Levy Fees and Levies Act, they have to come to this house. And I say that, Honorable Speaker, because in my other life in business, I also get privy to certain information. That is why I specifically address the Competition Authority to ensure that what is due to Caesar, is it Caesar in the Bible? Yes, what is due to Caesar?
Give unto Caesar.
Give unto Caesar what is due to Caesar. Yeah. Therefore, for Asahi and Diageo, what is due to KRA, what is due to Commissioner General KRA, CS Adan Mohammed, please give it to him in full. In full. What is due to the DG, Competition Authority, please pay in full. Honorable Speaker, I just digressed on that because these are things that are live today in our market, and as the guarantors of the people of Kenya to oversight the executive.
You didn't finish the statement. You also give unto God what is due to God.
Oh yes. I deliberately avoided finishing that statement, Honorable Speaker, because these are people who are in the alcohol business. So that is why I restricted myself that they give unto Caesar what is due unto Caesar. I do not know whether they give to God, but probably in their private capacities, or even as an organization, if they go to church or to mosques and give to God, may they also give unto God. But part of the great work, for instance, EABL does in terms of, under the EABL Foundation, they do a lot of good work, and which is also part of giving back to God by giving back to the people of Kenya through their CSR under the EABL Foundation. They do a lot of good work, and I must commend EABL for the great work they have been doing. And that's why I'm saying, even as new owners come into that company, may they carry on with the culture that was there under Diageo, that even Asahi, I know the Japanese people are quite generous, that they continue being generous to the people of Kenya by giving unto the people of Kenya. Because giving to the people of Kenya, these are the people of God, you're also giving to God. And may they give also to God what is due to God. Honorable Speaker, the other thing that this bill speaks to, and I've touched on it, is clarification of merger and control provisions, and the bill updates provisions relating to mergers and acquisitions to capture modern forms of business control and transactions, including those undertaken by foreign entities whose conduct affects the Kenyan market. And that is why I digressed a bit on that transaction between Diageo and Asahi, because these are foreign-owned companies, but their conduct affects the Kenyan market because, as I said, they must pay what is due to us in taxes, pay what is due to us in terms of levies or A&A for the Competition Authority. And therefore, I don't need to belabor that point. But this is necessary to ensure that the competition regulation remains effective in a globalized and interconnected economy, because we live in a global economy, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, with the enactment of this bill, we will be promoting very fair competition in our marketplace in this country. We will be protecting consumers from exploitation and deceptive trade practices. We also be supporting small and medium enterprises against unfair market conduct, as I said, in the unfair conduct by dominant buyers. We also be strengthening regulation of our digital markets and emerging technologies, and also enhance investor confidence and market transparency, as we also align Kenya's competition framework with international best practices. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, this bill is very timely and necessary in today's world, and it responds to emerging economic realities and strengthens Kenya's legal framework to support a competitive, innovative, and consumer-friendly economy. It is a bill against unfair business, designed to guarantee that the hard-working Kenyan entrepreneurs and the Kenyan consumers, everyday consumer of goods, are fully protected from corporate exploitation or the exploitation by those who are in business. I therefore urge all of us as guarantors of the rights of the Kenyan people and as their representatives to support this bill in amending the Competition Act under this amendment bill of 2026. I therefore beg to move, and I want to request the very brilliant and able chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee, the member for Molo, who is a very diligent chair of the committee and a great servant of the people of Molo. A man who, Honorable Speaker, I told you the other Saturday I went to his constituency, and there, when people go there shouting one term, the public in Molo tell them their member of parliament is not one term. He's already done his first, second, he's going for the third term. So the young people, border riders, told me as I went to pick my vehicle that please continue supporting our member of parliament, because he is very supportive of the work of the National Assembly and very supportive of us as his constituents. And we tell those who come to shout one term here that it is them who can serve one term. The member for Molo, Honorable Kimani Kuria, is doing his third term. He'll be back here doing his third term after he finishes his second term, because some are trying to hit on him because of his great work. But let me say, Honorable Speaker, it is rare. And I know because I have been around for some time just like you, Honorable Speaker. And you have been in this house with many members of parliament, previous members of parliament from Molo. Whether you begin from the late Keheka Kimani, whether you talk of Jenga Mungai, whether you talk of the former member Kuna, whether you talk of Mukiri, Jacob Mukiri, the people of Molo have never produced a more brilliant, more focused, and more diligent member of parliament than the Honorable Francis Kimani Kuria. And I don't say this because he has the name Kimani somewhere. I say it because he has been able to exhibit that brilliance, that intelligence, and the commitment to shepherd this country to greater development and prosperity, not just for the people of Molo, but for the people of Kenya. It is rare to find such focused young leaders, Honorable Speaker. Many young leaders in today's world are getting tempted to want to speak to the things they hear out there. And you saw some here speaking about Mutumba things that were nowhere during the finance bill. You have seen some even attempt to apologize to the people of Kenya belatedly because they cannot match the brilliance of Honorable Kimani Kuria. And I want to encourage my brother Kimani Kuria. He is going places. If the people of Molo had doubt, they can hear it from me. And I am older than him, so I know. I beg to ask, with immense respect, the member for Molo to second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my senior and my leader of majority, and also for your very kind words. I have learned from the best. Because remember when you came here to this house, I said the other day we became your students, we became your mentees. And every time we would wonder which standing order to stand on, we would come to you and we'll ask which one it is. And you're very generous to tell us who it is, rather than to go to 105 and scrabbling on trying to ask ChatGPT a bit too late, and without specializing whether it is Senate standing orders or. And indeed, leader of majority, the people of Moloch have told me this again and again. They sent me to the National Assembly on a mandate. They cannot all come to this house to debate matters. And so they said, we are taking one of you to go and debate in that house. That's why, Honorable Speaker, I take my time and work seriously at the National Assembly, because that's why I'm sent and that's why I'm paid to work, Honorable Speaker. And there can be, unfortunately, because our work is not as audited as it is, in my previous job, in the field of finance, there were very strict working hours. There were very strict KPIs, and unfortunately, in Parliament, that's one of the things we've not been able to implement. Because an important business like today, there are very few members in the House, and there is probably nothing that will be done, and they still be paid very handsomely to work here, Honorable Speaker. But Honorable Speaker, even before I begin this, on where the Honorable Majority left, you know, my leader of majority, I think we might have to rethink the decision we made on our Director General for Competition Authority, because I think there needs to be restriction of when you need to start campaigning when you want an elective seat. Because now people get appointed into elective office, they're not in office, and they're always out there in the field. But that's not what I want to debate this afternoon, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, imagine one team has 15 players, and the other one has seven players. And the bigger team is allowed now to compete with the smaller team. One team is 15 players, the other one is 17. And because the bigger team is bigger, then they dictate that the smaller team can only play 7 of them. Or imagine if the bigger team kept changing goalposts. You know, when you're about to score, they change the goalposts. Or they said the whistle can only be used on the small team and not the big team. Would that really be a football match? So this is what this amendment to the Competition Authority Act is doing. It wants to make sure that the big team and the small team have the same equal number of players. There is no change of rules in the middle of the game, and the whistle applies to all the teams, whether it is the small team Arsenal or the big team Manchester United. So, Honorable Speaker, Kenya has always been a nation of hustlers and innovators. From the village market to the market to M-Pesa, from the matatu stage, the smartphone, we have thrived by creative opportunity where none existed. But today, Honorable Speaker, a new challenge faces our entrepreneurs. The rise of powerful digital platforms and dominant players who can dictate terms, delay payments, and squeeze the very people who built our economy from the ground up. This bill, Honorable Speaker, is not about punishing success. It is about ensuring that success does not become a weapon used against the smaller players. It is about bringing the spirit of fairness that has defined Kenyan enterprise into the digital age of the modern workplace. Honorable Speaker, we are upgrading our competition laws from the analog era to the algorithm era, while putting a fairness shield around our MSMEs, farmers, suppliers, and digital hustlers. Mr. Speaker, when our young people wake up in the morning and open their phones, they're not just entering a marketplace, they are also entering someone else's territory. The rules of that territory are written by the algorithms they did not code, enforced by terms they did not negotiate, and controlled by platforms they cannot challenge. Today, we are going to bring those rules under the light of the Kenyan law. Mr. Speaker, in Molo and across the country, our farmers and small traders are not asking for favors. They're asking for fairness. When a small supplier waits for 120 days for payment from a powerful buyer, or when a digital platform takes 30% and still changes the rules overnight, that is not competition. That is conquest. The bill says conquest is going to end with this law. Our current Competition Act was written by a different economy, one of factories, physical shops, and traditional supply chains. It was not designed for digital platforms that control access to millions of customers with zero switching costs for the platform, but huge costs for users. It was not made for powerful buyers like supermarkets, processors, exporters, digital marketplaces, who can unilaterally change the terms, delay payments, and demand extra fees because suppliers have nowhere else to go. It was not designed for data advantages and network effects that create winner-takes-most market oversight, markets almost overnight. It was not made for data advantage and network effects that create what the Honorable KJ will call winner-takes-most markets almost overnight. Situations where a company does not have 50% market share, but still has enormous power under its counterparties. What does this provide, Honorable Speaker? This bill is providing 4 key pillars. Pillar number 1 is regulating the new digital gatekeepers. We are not against the gates. What we are doing, Honorable Speaker, is installing traffic lights and a fair toll system. We are changing definitions through key innovations in this bill, Honorable Speaker. By, for example, digital activity, introducing words like digital activity, digital marketplace, multi-home, and immediate transaction. We're introducing new concepts like strategic market position in digital marketplaces assessed by network effects, data access, switching cost, and importance as an intermediary, not just traditional market share. This bill is capturing platforms that may have less than 40% share, but enormous power because everyone has to go through them. Our pillar number 2, Honorable Speaker, is creating a fairness shield and prevent abuse of power and abuse of superior bargaining position, Honorable Speaker. We are giving the small fish a shield when swimming with the sharks without necessarily banning the ocean. This is perhaps the most transformative part of the bill. It is creating a new Part 3A on unfair market conduct and introducing abuse of superior bargaining position as a distinct prohibition. It is protecting counterparties, that is suppliers, small businesses, content creators, app developers, even when the powerful party does not have a dominant market position in the traditional sense. What this prohibition conduct is including is 1, unilateral variation of terms without notice. You can no longer now vary terms without giving a notice. And we've seen, Honorable Speaker, this especially with our supermarkets. Where some of the big supermarkets have been receiving goods from small traders, only for them to change the payment terms overnight without even consulting the small suppliers. We are going to prohibit transfer of risk, of cost and risks to the weaker party. Where a risk is facing a business, whether it is what the real majority party was writing to big players like ABL, and there's a risk of drought, then they transfer that risk, Honorable Speaker, to the small farmers, Honorable Speaker. It is imposing purchase prices below competitive levels or service fees above competition levels. It's prohibiting unreasonable data collection or obstruction of business activities. And lastly, the authority can now develop code of practice and impose reporting requirements, which is a much smarter and sector-sensitive approach. Our key number 3 that this bill is going to do is faster and smarter enforcement. As it's popularly said, justice delayed in competition matters is justice denied to the hustler waiting for payment. The new Section 91A is introducing administrative enforcement action, which is going to be absolute game changer. There's now going to be written warnings and specific remedial directions. There's going to be administrative penalties up to 10% of gross annual turnover in Kenya, which is recoverable, Honorable Speaker, as a civil debt. It's going to suspend revocation or variations of rights and privileges. It's going to require fair hearings before penalties and going to ensure that due process is protected. Pillar number 4, Honorable Speaker, from this bill is modern consumer protection and institutional strengthening. There's going to be expanded false, misleading representation, which will include withholding material information on quarterly basis. It's going to have mergers definition expanded to cover privatization of state corporations that engage in trade. Honorable Speaker, this is a very, very important and material amendment, Honorable Speaker, because with this House passage of government-owned enterprises, it means now we have government-owned enterprises that are going to do business and therefore compete with other businesses. And therefore, we are also bringing these ones under the purview of the Competition Authority of Kenya so that they do not go to offer unfair competition to other private businesses, Honorable Speaker. It's also going to give authority the authority will be empowered to foster strategic national, regional, international partnerships. And lastly, on this particular pillar, is going to ensure that the abuse of buyer power provisions restructured and strengthened under the new unfair market conduct part. Why are these matters matter for Kenya's bottom-up transformation? The bill is not just a technical law reform. It is an economic justice legislation. And as I said earlier, Honorable Speaker, this again demonstrates the Kenya Kwanza administration is implementing its manifesto law by law, step by step, policy by policy, product by product, Honorable Speaker. It's going to protect MSMEs and suppliers who are the backbone of our manufacturing and agricultural value chains. It's going to create a more predictable and fair environment that actually attracts responsible long-term investment. It's going to empower the digital hustler, the young person selling online, the content creator, the app developer, and it's going to ensure that they are not subject to platform abuse. It's going to align Kenya with global best practice by EU, DMA, and DSA thinking, but tailored to our context while protecting our sovereignty over our markets. And it's going to support the President's bottom-up reform agenda by ensuring that the growth at the top does not crush the opportunities at the bottom. Honorable Speaker, that the growth at the top should not crush the opportunities at the bottom of the pyramid, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, what are some of the questions that we may ask ourselves of this bill? Someone will ask, won't this scare away investors and big technologies and big techs? And the answer is, Honorable Speaker, on the contrary, responsible investors want clear, predictable, and fair rules. What scares capital is uncertainty and the ability of dominant players to change the game overnight. This bill is now creating a level playing field, the best magnet for sustainable investment. Someone will ask, Honorable Speaker, is this anti-business or anti-success? On the contrary, Honorable Speaker, this bill is pro-competition, but also pro-enterprise. It says, grow as big as you want through innovation and efficiency, but do not use your size or your superior position to crush the small player who has no realistic alternative. This is not success, that will be abuse. And someone else was asked, Honorable Speaker, how does this then help ordinary Kenyans, especially those in rural areas? Every time a supplier in Molo, in Mombasa, in Dagoretti, in Kikuyu, or anywhere else in this country is paid late, or has cost arbitrarily shifted onto them, or loses access to a market because a powerful buyer changed the rules, that is money that should have gone to.
The FIFA World Cup 2026, hosted by the Triumvirate of Canada, Mexico and the United States of America, promises to be blissful. Explore the most exciting edition of the tournament to date as 48 teams from around the globe compete in one